Hello, friends! Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Newb Quest, Intro to Git and GitHub. So, Mr. Tony, say hello.
Hello, hello.
This has been a long time coming. Typically when I pair with Tony, so if you look back at Noob Quest or some of the Newbie Tuesday streams, he's always controlling my screen and we're just using one computer. But today I wanted to talk about Git and GitHub and how we can actually collaborate without being on the same computer. So welcome everyone. Let's say hello to the people in the chat. Oliver, Heyo, Luis, Ran, Man on the Run, welcome, welcome, and Amy, and Ed, and Vias, and Simjon. The gang's all here. It's going to be a fun time. Before I get started and before I forget, a couple of hours ago, I got a new patron. It was Charlita Boulard. So thank you so much for the $5 pledge on Patreon. Okay, what we're gonna do is I have a list of all the things. There's a lot of different things. We're gonna start with just talking about what is Git, and then what is GitHub, and then clarify that Git is not GitHub, and then we'll show how to configure it and use it. And Tony and I are going to be collaborating on a project today. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but it's actually pretty cool. And we're going to use that project that we're building to demonstrate all these different things with Git. So creating a Git repo on your computer, creating one on GitHub, staging files, committing files, pushing commits, cloning, forking, creating branches, all the things. It's going to be great. Brooks is in the house. Hello, Brooks. Welcome, welcome. And Akash, welcome to the stream. So we will start with what is Git. Now, Git itself it's a program. It's a program that runs on your computer. And on their website, you can see Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with speed and efficiency. So typically in the software world, in the coding world, you're not working alone. You're working with other people. And so Git is a piece of software that allows you to collaborate with others. And Git is not the only type of version control system. There are actually quite a few out there. But it has become one of the most popular ones and one that a lot of people know and use. So I have here just pulled up the version control Wikipedia page, and you can read about what it is. I think it talks about some of the different internal ways that it actually is able to do this. They might list some of the other version control software that's out there. The key thing about Git, though, is it is distributed version control. And we'll talk about that, but basically every single Git repo, whether it's on your computer or whether it's on GitHub, is a full-fledged Git repo. And it's distributed because they all can connect to each other and pull from each other and push to each other. And it's actually a really, really cool model. I guess the other interesting thing to mention is Linus Torvalds, who is the creator of the Linux kernel, is also the creator of Git. So that's a fun fact. So Git itself is version control, and version control itself is basically keeping track of changes to your software. You can think of it like checkpoints in a video game. So you're playing a video game, and Sonic on Sega comes to mind, because if you're ever playing a level on Sonic, every time you get to one of the little checkpoints, if you ever die, you get to go right back to that checkpoint. You don't have to start over in the whole game. So Git itself allows you to make checkpoints along the way so that if something goes wrong, like you break your code or you tried something that didn't work, you can always go back to a previous commit. I'm using the word commit. We'll talk about what a commit is, but that's Git in general. So it's a version control software. Mr. Tony, are you listening? I know you're.
I'm here. I was kind of just working on our little secret project.
Yeah, our secret project.
I sent you a file, by the way.
Cool. So just in general, do you have any questions about what is Git? So we haven't talked about GitHub yet, but just Git in general.
No, I know before I even knew about Git, like when I was in a school for graphic design or just working on any sort of design project, without anybody telling us about this idea of version control, like a lot of people in the design world kind of do it on their own, or they're taught like different ideas of how to like name files, but usually without something like Git, it's really sloppy. Like if it's on your machine, it's like final version -1, final version -1, final.
No, exactly. Yeah, and so that's something I didn't talk about, but like you could do this without Git, but you would just be creating copies of files, changing the file name, maybe commenting out code and then uncommenting it. But basically, it's a streamlined way of keeping track of your work without having like a messy file system with multiple different versions of the same file all in the same folder.
Right. And it's,
Cool.
yeah, so much cleaner.
Definitely. So we are not going to talk about how to install Git, but you can see on the Git website they do have a downloads page. You can install it on whatever operating system you use. If you're using a Mac computer like I am, it comes built in, so you get the Git command by default. This isn't going to be an intro to the command line interface, so you should already be familiar with basic commands like listing the files in a directory, making a directory, going into directories that you create. I should probably do a video on this as well, but you should be familiar with some of the more basic terminal commands. And Git itself, we're going to be using inside of the terminal. Now, it is possible to use Git without using the terminal. There are GUI clients, they have it linked here, graphical user interfaces that basically, instead of running these commands from the command line, you can just click buttons and it'll do it for you. But today we're going to show how to do it from the command line, and maybe in a future video we'll show how to do it from like a GUI client. Okay, so that's Git. Now let's talk about what is GitHub. And before I talk about that, I'll check the chat. If anyone has any like questions about Git itself, I'd be happy to answer those. And Joe, hello, welcome to the stream, Joe. How's the secret project coming, Tony?
Pretty good. I think I only need to send you one of the last images.
Okay.
Because we were going to use opacity, like you said.
Right, exactly. And all this sounds very vague to anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, which is everyone. But
we talked about it in the stream before.
We have, but it's still going to be a surprise for today.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so if at any time you do have questions, please throw them in the chat. But that's what Git is. It's basically checkpoints for your code. You don't have to have like lots of files and like a messy way of dealing with things. It handles all of that for you. So now, what is GitHub? So let's go here. GitHub is built for developers. It is a development platform inspired by the way you work. So it's from open source to businesses. You can host and review code, manage projects, and build software alongside 28 million developers. So basically, you can sign up on GitHub, and it allows you to create Git repos in the cloud. So you can create Git repos that are hosted on the internet that now makes it a lot easier to collaborate with other developers because they can take your code from the Git repo on GitHub and pull it down to their local machine and have a Git repo locally. So GitHub itself is using Git internally, but it adds a lot of other features on top of it, like pull requests and adding comments to things and forking repos and maybe there's a few other. They have like issues. They add basically a lot of extra features on top, but at the core of it, it is using Git behind the scenes. So think of GitHub as a way of managing your code with Git, but it's in the cloud, like in the air. No, like it's on the internet. So basically, if your computer ever dies and you have your Git repo also backed up on GitHub, you can be sure that if you get a new computer, you can pull that code down. And all of your checkpoints from before are still there. All of your files are still there. And basically, it allows you to keep your code backed up on the internet and allows you to collaborate with other developers on the internet. So GitHub itself actually does have a lot of learning resources for learning Git and Git with GitHub. They have this article called Hello World, talks about what is GitHub, how to create a repo. We're going to show how to do all of this. We'll show how to create branches, committing changes. I will link to all of the things I'm showing in the repo, which will be linked after the episode, so you can click all of the links in there. So they have that. They also have a lot of resources for learning Git. One of the really cool resources they have is, Learn Git branching. And this is, so you can do this inside the browser. You don't need a command line. You don't need to install anything. And you can learn about all of the commands with Git. So if you go to this website, they show you the different commands. You can learn about Git commits, Not going to read all of this, but like it has really cool diagrams. And then you actually get this terminal on the right-hand side that allows you to run commands, and you basically have to run the right commands to complete each level of the game. But this is a really great way. If you don't have Git installed yet and you want to learn all these commands that we're talking about, you can check this thing out as well. And then in a bit, I'll show this visualizing Git. It actually shows you what's a visual representation of what's happening under the hood as you create a Git repo. But that's the main thing. GitHub is Git in the cloud and allows you to collaborate with other developers on the internet. Questions about GitHub, Tony?
Not at the moment.
Okay, cool. And so there are some questions in the chat and new people in chat. Hello, Chris and Himanshu and Raphael. Welcome to the stream. Himanshu actually mentions, and this is actually a good point. So let me clarify here. So what is GitHub? It is Git in the cloud. Collaborate with developers on the internet. But because of that, there are also other services that provide very similar features as GitHub. And so one of them mentioned by Himanshu in the chat is Bitbucket. So Bitbucket is a very similar thing. So it is Git hosted in the cloud and has extra features on top of it, like pull requests and issues and adding comments and things like that. But it's just a separate website. And one thing to note is on GitHub, all of the repos that you create are public by default, meaning when you push your code to GitHub, anyone in the world can see your code and pull it down and change it if they want to. But Bitbucket actually allows you to create what are called private repos, meaning only you and the people you give access to can have access to those. GitHub also has that, but you have to pay a little bit of money each month to get access to private repos. There's also Gitlab. Is it gitlab.com? Yes. And again, this is another hosted service, and they also Gitlab, I believe, offers unlimited private repos. Bitbucket, I think, has a limit of 6 private repos. But they all work in similar ways. You sign up for an account, and then you have a remote, which we'll talk about, that you can push your Git repo up to in the cloud. Yes. So Gitlab, Bitbucket, etc., etc., etc. Are there other popular ones?
For what?
For like Git in the cloud. GitHub.
GitLab and GitHub are like the two.
Yeah, they're like the really main ones. And so it was recently in the news that GitHub was acquired by Microsoft, and a bunch of people jumped shipped to GitLab. And it works in a very similar way. Oh yeah, and so Oliver in the chat is mentioning you can self-host GitLab, meaning you could get your own server and put GitLab on it, and then you don't have to be dependent on gitlab.com. In the idea of self-hosting, I've used one called Git. And this is basically, it's like your own private GitHub. You could post it on your own server, and then only you and the users you create have access to it.
Would that be if like you had like a project that you're working on and it's sort of like top secret kind of thing, like you don't want anyone to even know that the repository exists, even if it's private?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like technically, even though you're creating private repos on GitLab or Bitbucket, it could be possible that their server administrators still have access to your code. But yeah, something like Git, you can run locally, but you could also run on a server that you own, and then you have complete and total control. Like no one can see it unless they have access to your server. So there's also like Git. And there's probably also lots of others, but it's just important to mention that GitHub is in this category of like cloud-hosted Git repositories. Basically, it's Git, but it's on the internet. Oh, I see. Brooks is mentioning correction. So on Bitbucket, they do have unlimited private repos, but they limit the number of collaborators that can be on each project. Whereas I don't believe GitLab has any limitations on private repos. Okay, but it's all details. The main thing to know and to think about is these things are on the internet, whereas Git is just a program that could be running on your computer or could be running on some computer that's connected to the internet. Can't
you do hosting through GitHub as well for websites?
Yeah, so actually we do want to show that today. So they provide a thing called GitHub Pages, which lets you take the code that's in a Git repo and it gives it a URL that anyone can visit. And if it's valid HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code in that repo, GitHub Pages will actually host it at a URL. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a repo. It'll have our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code in it. And then we're going to get a GitHub URL, a GitHub Pages URL, where anyone can visit that and they actually see the website rather than just seeing the source code.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and Oliver is also mentioning, so you technically could just put Git on a server. And because Git works in the command line, you could technically connect to that server over SSH and like push commits and things like that. But you don't get the web interface, which is what is something like Git T provides you. So it's still like Git running on a server, but it gives you a web interface that's very familiar and looks very similar to something like GitHub. So if you were to go to like a package or a repo, sorry, you typically in the web browser, you can see all of the files. You can click on files and see their contents. So it shows you all the folders. You can look at individual files, but you see that in the web browser, which is pretty convenient to be able to navigate. But it's also possible to do this without something like that. Okay, so that's Git, that's GitHub. Are you ready, Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Okay, is your screen ready? Can I show your screen?
Yeah, I basically professionalized my screen. I have a very professional background. I deleted my web browser, so it's nothing but goodness.
Okay, I'm switching now. Okay, nice. You got a rubber duck. Cool. So this is Tony's computer, and he's actually using a Windows computer. So this will be interesting because on my stream I do use a Mac computer. And he has a command line here, and you'll notice it actually is saying that he's using node.js, so he's set that up all in the past. And I believe you have set up GitHub in the past, right?
Yes.
And the way he did that, I'm showing my screen now, Tony, is he went to the Git website, went to downloads, and then just downloaded the Windows version. So once that's installed, you can access it from the command line. But now we actually want to configure it. So one thing about working on Git locally is you want to make sure that all of your commits give you credit for doing that. So it'll have your email and your name, which should match what's on GitHub. So that way when you push to GitHub, you actually get credit for those commits, and it'll show your nice little user icon next to it. I'll show that real quick on my Coding Garden organization. So all of the code for Coding Garden is hosted on GitHub. You can see all of our past repos. Let's go to save the emojis. And if we look at the commits, you can see that the commit has my user icon and my name next to it. And that's because I've configured Git locally to, when I commit, it saves my username and my email. So when I push to GitHub, it knows who I am. So we actually need to configure, we may not need to configure, but we'll make sure that it's set up correctly so that Tony's Git has his GitHub username and password. Can you increase the font size of the screen? Like if you do Control plus, does it get bigger?
Well, I'm on Node. No.
Well, if you just click it, can you do like Control plus? Okay, can you right click in the taskbar? Yeah, edit.
Scroll?
Properties. And font, yeah, bump that way up. Yeah, do 36.
Oh.
No, that's fine. Okay, it's cool. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my screen really quick, and I'm just going to search the web for git config email. So there's actually is a GitHub documentation page that shows you how to do this locally. And the idea is you can run this command, which will set up your config. Try doing this, Tony. Type git space config, and then just hit enter. Let's see what it gives you back. Cool. So it gives us all the possible options. And we actually want to list your current options to see if you have any set. So you can do git space config space -l, and I'll show you where I see that. I'm seeing that right here. So there is a built-in command to git config, which will show you all of the built-in configs. So hit enter. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Oh, and you actually do have your email and name set up. Is it okay that your email's public? I guess it's too late now.
Yeah. Like, well, we've shown my GitHub stuff before.
Yeah, but maybe people can't see your email. Okay, but the way we would add this if it wasn't there, and we can go ahead and run these commands, is git space config space -- global. So we're going to be setting this globally, meaning anywhere on your computer when you make git commits, it's going to use this user information. And then the property that we're setting is user.email. My break timer is up though, Tony, so let's take a quick stretch.
That's kind of weird. Like this is the first time I think we've done it where I don't see your break timer.
No, exactly, yeah. Okay, so we're adding this config globally, and we want to set user.email. So do space user.email, and then space, and then in double quotes, put your email address. And yeah, just put it what it is.
Okay.
And then hit enter, and that will set it. Cool. Now, if you run that command again, but you don't include, so just, can you press up in the command line here? Cool. Backspace your email. So if you run this command without giving it a value, it'll tell you what the current value is. So hit enter, and it should give us back your email. Cool. So that means that it's set. So if you run this command and you see your email, you know that it's set. The next thing is we want to set your username, I believe.
Okay.
I guess maybe the commit email address is pretty much all that GitHub will look at. I typically set my name. So actually, looking at my screen now, we can see my git config -- global user.name. Yeah, and I have my user.name set to my GitHub username. So I think we should do that. So do git config -- global user.name, and then in double quotes put your GitHub username. Oh yes, because right now it's set to Anthony, which I think is, maybe that's okay, because maybe GitHub actually uses your email, but just press up, and then we're going to set the value to be your GitHub username. Is it A Lamatina?
I think it should just be a Lamatina.
Do you know for sure?
Let me pull it up here in the other window.
I'll hide your screen for a second. Just pull up your GitHub and make sure that your GitHub name is A Lamatina. Actually, I can pull them up on my screen too. A Lamatina. That's Tony. We can see you on my screen, Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was right. A Lamatina. Cool. So if you hit enter, that will set it.
Okay. A Lamatina. Boom.
Awesome. And then run the command again without A Lamatina on it, and it should say A Lamatina. That's just double checking technically. I see Oliver is correcting in the chat. So technically, you're supposed to set your full name, but it doesn't really matter because GitHub uses the email anyways. Okay, I have mine set to my username, but at least this, I know that this works for me. And let's see what configs I have set. Cool. Oliver's saying it changes what people will see locally. Okay, so when you're getting set up with Git, you want to at least make sure that you do this first, because otherwise you're not going to be getting credits for your commits. Because the other thing I'll show is, so right now, Tony, I'm looking at your GitHub profile, and it says that you have 9 contributions in the last year. And it knows that because you had Git configured with your email. If you're pushing to GitHub and you don't have your email configured, you're not getting credit for those commits. So it actually, we can look at my profile. And any GitHub you push to on, any Git repo you push to on repo, on GitHub, you get credited for those commits. So you can see on mine, I have 595 contributions in the last year, because it's any commit that had my email on it was registered under my name. And so when you're getting started in coding, like eventually you might try to find a job in coding, and if you don't have any prior experience, GitHub is one way to really show that you have experience coding, because you can showcase your projects, and you can also showcase that you commit regularly and you're pretty active on your GitHub repo. And This isn't like a requirement of getting a job, but like if you don't have past experience, it is one thing that can help because it can show people that you are trying to you're coding a lot and you've been spending a lot of time coding and all of your work is on GitHub for them to see. Okay. So we configured Git locally. Now we will initialize a Git repo. So Tony, go into your workspace. Do you have a folder called workspace or anything like that?
I do.
Cool.
All right, change directory. Already at the desktop. All right.
Okay, and then, so typically when you're creating a Git repo, you want to make sure that you're doing it inside of a folder. You don't ever want to do a git init like on your desktop or in your home folder because there will be issues that will happen. I've had past students that have accidentally pushed up their entire home folder to GitHub because they did a git init in their on their desktop or in their home folder. So you want to make sure that you do this in either a fresh folder or a folder that is not yet a Git repo. So let's create a new directory for the project that we're going to do. And I guess we can go ahead and say the name of the project we're making. It's going to be newb-quest.life. Do NEWB.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I found out a while back about the way that spelling works.
Yeah, it's well, this is more like a newbie versus noob. I don't know.
Well, like noob spelled this way is supposed to be like it's like it's not a negative connotation. Like NOOB is supposed to be like ignorant noob.
Oh, I see. Yes, and it is a positive connotation here on the coding card.
Yes.
It's good to be a noob. You're improving yourself. You're learning.
So newb-quest.
.life.
.life.
Cool. And then let's go into that directory because this directory is where all of our code for this app that we're building is going to exist. And so because we just created that directory, do you have access to the ls command? Try ls. Not. Oh no, it's not. So on Windows, do you know what the command is to see the files in a folder?
I do not.
It's dir, dir.
Dir.
And that will show you all the files in the folder. So right now we have an empty folder. There's nothing in it, but we are going to initialize this folder to be a Git repository. So that's the first thing on our checklist is initialize a Git repo on your local computer. So typically this happens in an empty directory. You want to do this like before you start coding. Technically you can do it after you start coding as well, but it's always good to get in the habit of like committing and keeping track of everything that you code on. So we're going to run a command that basically creates a Git repo in this exact folder. Are you ready, Tony?
Yes.
Git space init. And then hit enter. Nice. And if you run this, it should give you the command initialized empty Git repository in this specific folder. And so now, if you list the files in this folder, you should see. How do we list hidden files on Windows? Let me Google it really quick. Windows dir hidden files. How to see hidden files in the MS-DOS command prompt. So do dir space /AH.
/AH?
Yes. There it is. So, in most operating systems, this folder that gets created, and it is a folder, is typically hidden because you don't really ever, especially when you're getting started, you don't want to touch this folder. You don't want to change files inside of it. All of the information about your Git repo is going to live inside of this .git folder. And when you do git init, it actually creates that folder.
What is that serial number thing?
Serial number where?
It says volume serial number.
Oh, that's just like an identifier for your partition on your hard drive, I believe. It is not. No one can hack you with that, Tony.
No, I was just curious as to like what that was meaning.
Yeah, I think it's Windows specific. It's about like the partition you have.
Okay.
Okay, so we did git init in this empty folder. Now we have initialized an empty repository in this specific folder. And this is how you create a Git repo locally on your machine. It's just the git init command. And hello, Meyer. Welcome back. Oliver's mentioning they've deliberately tried to back up their PC with Git. Did not end well. It'll just like it's possible. It's just there are so many files. I don't know how it deals with so many files. Okay, so looking at the checklist, we have initialize the Git repo. I'm moving my checklist down because now let's do some coding. So in this directory, let's create an index.html file.
All right. So that's command is touch, right?
Well, it is in Linux. I don't know what it is in Windows. You could also just open this directory inside of VS Code, or do you use Atom?
Yeah, I've been using Atom. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, I'll hide your screen for a second.
All right. Well, I was gonna do the yeah, just because it's just gonna be like a seizure-inducing thing while I try to pull Atom up and figure out what's going on.
Okay, yeah, your screen is hidden right now, so feel free to configure everything.
I don't understand what's happening because I have Atom opening, but it's popping up on because I have two screens right now, right?
Okay.
And I don't understand where it is.
Just right-click it in the taskbar and say like close application.
Oh, almost there. All right.
And then I don't know if it works on Windows. Can I show your screen now?
Hold on just a second. I'm almost got the thing pulled up.
Cool. Do. How are you all today? Or tonight, or this morning? I don't know what time it is where you are. Is everybody doing good? Enjoying learning about Git? Oh, Meyer has it. So on Windows, you can just echo something empty into a specific file name. Are you ready for me, Tony?
Oh no, it just went. No, I'm struggling here.
Okay,
Just give me a second.
This is the first time that we're sharing Tony's screen on the stream, so it was expected that we'd have a little bit of issues.
Yeah, and I'm trying like I accidentally was pulling up Spotify a second ago. I don't know why Spotify's popping up, and I'm trying not I should have exited out of everything that I was using because all this stuff is just flying up. I don't know what.
Okay.
Happening. Just give me a minute.
Okay, no, yeah. Do your thing. Amy says it's going well there. That's very good. And Oliver is criticizing you for being on Windows. It's okay though. I think the thing is a lot of noobs that are watching our streams actually are on Windows. It's just it's easier to access a Windows machine than it is a Mac machine, meaning get access to it. You can get a Windows laptop for $100 or maybe $200 if that, or find a used one for even cheaper. Whereas Macs are pretty expensive.
I've just used Windows it's just been my thing I've always used. I used Macs in college, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so in college, I started using Linux, but then back then I had one of the black MacBooks, and I was tri-booting. So I was booting Windows, Linux, and Mac, and I would switch between them. Eventually, I just settled on Mac with virtual machines, if I ever needed a Linux machine or a Windows machine. Himanshu is asking, can I ask a question out of topic? You can try. I'll decide whether or not I'll answer it. But yeah, go for it. And if I can't answer now, I can always answer later. Good call, Oliver. Oliver was not criticizing the users of Windows, just the designers of Windows. Oh, right. And Mayur is mentioning, I see you got rid of that share border thing. It's actually because I'm not sharing my screen. So, Tony, on your side, do you actually see a yellow border on your screen?
I do.
Yeah, so the way Zoom works is the person who is sharing the screen, they see their screen has a yellow thing around it just so they know that their screen is being shared. Because right now, Tony can't actually see my screen. Only we can see his screen.
All right, so it should work right now. I'm doing the resume share.
Okay.
All right.
Ed
I got it
says,
in Visual Studio.
oh, you're in Visual Studio? Nice. Let me catch up on the chat. Ed is saying, everything's good for me. My mood always gets better when watching you guys doing coding stuff. Awesome. Glad to hear it. It's gonna get even better. You're gonna love this project. I bet. And Himanshu is saying, can you do a session on Parse Server? Have not heard of it, but I can definitely add it to the list right quick. So I do have a topics Trello. I have a Trello board where I keep track of all of the suggestions for the streams and stuff like that. But just to search real quick, what is Parse Server? An API server module for Node and Express. Interesting. So it's kind of like a wrapper on top of Node and Express. Yeah, I'll add it to the list. Wait. Oh, I'm not logged in. Remind me. So someone in the Discord remind me to add that to the list. Oh, Meyer is saying Arch Linux for forever. Vyas actually has a good suggestion. So download the Linux-based terminal on Windows. I don't think we'll do this right now, but there is, I believe it's actually whenever you install Git, it will ask you, do you want to install the Linux commands? And that gives you access to ls and touch and makedir and like some of the more basic Linux commands. You'll actually get access to those in your regular like DOS prompt. So you might want to do that if you do want to use Linux commands on Windows. But then also, there's actually a way in Windows 10 to have an Ubuntu subsystem. We're getting really off topic, but those would be ways of using Linux commands in your terminal.
No, in my defense about being the Windows user, it's like I still use Raspberry Pi.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So you are technically you're a Linux user. I believe it.
A Linux supporter.
And hello, Daniel. Good afternoon from London. Very cool. Okay, are you ready for me to show your screen, Tony?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, so you have VS Code open, and it is open inside of that directory that you just created, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's create a new file in here. Just call it index.html.
Okay. Index.
Well, you have to save it. And then it'll ask you what you want to name it.
Okay.
No, cancel this. No, cancel.
Sorry.
Just do. No, you're fine. You're fine. Do just Control S. Like put your cursor in the document. Did that pop up when you did Control S? Put your cursor
right
in the over in the document on the right. The stream is going so well. Press Control S.
All right.
Okay, I guess so. Call it index.html. And then hit save. And there we go. So we have our index.html file. And then just use the HTML snippet to generate an HTML document. Let's see if you have it. Just type HTML.
Should be HTML and just. Oh no.
So undo that one. Just like backspace one letter, and then when you type, try it again. But let's do the one that's :5. That's the HTML5 one. Yeah, so decent. Let's give it a title. That's just going to be Newb Quest Life, like on line 7. Cool. And let's, while we're thinking about it, increase your editor font size. Press Control, comma. That'll bring. That works too. Is that okay for you?
It works for me.
Cool. Awesome. So we have a basic HTML document. Let's actually just, in the body, let's put like an H1 that just says Newb Quest Life. Cool. So we have a basic HTML document. If you go back to your terminal, we're going to see what we see. Okay, so if you type dir here, we should see that there's an index.html file. Cool. So that shows us that thing exists. Now, I actually don't have this on my checklist, but I'll add it now. Check the status of a Git repo. So anytime files have changed and you want to check and see, okay, what has changed? What have I done? In the command line, you can type git space status, and that'll tell you the current status of the repo. So let's try that. Git space status. And then hit enter. Awesome. So it gives us a really cool breakdown of what's happening here. So you'll notice it says untracked files, and index.html is in red. And that's basically telling us that, hey, you have some files in this folder that Git doesn't know about yet. So if you want it to know about them, you need to track them. So that is the next command we will learn, which is Git Add. So there are a few different ways to do Git Add. You can run Git Add and basically tell it anything that is untracked in this folder, let's start tracking it. You can also do it like one folder at a time or one file at a time. So let's actually do that right now. So we can do git space add space index.html. And hit enter. Okay, now if we want to check and see if it worked, we can do git status. And there we go. So notice in the previous output, it said untracked files whenever we did git status. But now, whenever we did git status, after running git add, we see changes to be committed. And you'll notice it's in green now. There's a new file. So basically, we have told Git, hey, there's this file here, and I actually want you to keep track of it. So we have done what is known as staging the file. So we've staged the file to get ready to commit it to the repo. Let's look at our checklist. So we check the status, and one thing I'll mention is like Git status is your friend. Like if you don't know what's happening, or like I pretty much always run Git status before I do a Git add or a Git commit or a Git pool. Like Git status will always let you know how you're doing locally, so you can make an informed decision about what command you should run next. So Tony, we just talked about it, and you can see it on the screen. But what are the two types of files that can be in a repo?
You have .git, and then you can have basically everything else.
Okay, but I'm specifically talking about like what would the status of a specific file be? So if I created a new file in this directory and I haven't
it'd be tracked and untracked.
Exactly, yeah. So if and can you explain the difference to me? What's the difference between an untracked file and a tracked file?
Track file would be like if we were to do a git commit, it would be going into the repo.
Okay, and what is an untracked file?
It's basically Git's not paying attention to it because it's not like selected at all.
Right, so Git doesn't know about that file, and it's not going to pay attention to that file. How do you track an untracked file?
You add it to with add. I think there's like a shortcut to just I've always just done like git add. I think it's like -a.
Yeah, so when we start creating a few more files, we'll show that command. But it's important to note that when you do git add, you're specifically telling it what files do you want Git to start keeping track of. And it is possible to say, okay, there's like 5 files that changed in here, and I just want to add all of them all in one go. And there's a command for that. We'll show that in a bit when we have more files. Okay, but we've committed it. It's staged. It's ready. Now we actually want to checkpoint. We want to say, let's save the file as it is in its current state. So in the future we can go back to this if we want to. Mm-hmm. So this is called committing, and basically anything that has been staged will be a part of this commit, a part of this checkpoint. So let's go ahead and do our initial commit. So do git commit. And typically, well, not typically, pretty much always whenever you commit, you want to add a message. So do git commit space -m. And then in double quotes, we can give it a message. And I guess don't hit enter yet. I'm gonna show really quick. You can see on GitHub, on like all of the Coding Garden repos, my commits have messages along with them. So I have a commit message, we did it slowly. But then more descriptive commit messages like add sign up page, add build script. So these messages tell people on your team and like really your future self what you were doing in that specific commit. So you can see on my Code Cottage stream, I actually commit quite a bit, because I add solutions, I add links, and this message can be pretty much anything you want, But typically you want it to be pretty descriptive of what you just changed in the code. So when you're going back and looking, you can look at the name of that commit and be like, oh, that's when I was adding that feature or removing this file or something like that. Yes, so Tony has come up with a message, which is first commit. It is like convention or like tradition to have your first message be initial commit. I like what you're doing there though, but one thing I'll show you, and what you see me do all the time, is put emojis in your commit messages. So arrow to like the beginning of like inside of these quotes, and you can use the emoji codes. So do colon tada, T-A-D-A, colon, cool, and you put a space there. And then when we push this to GitHub, we'll actually see like the party emoji in the message. That's not required, it's just extra and fun. So if we run this command, it's basically going to say, okay, any files that are currently being tracked that have been added, we're going to bundle those up into a commit, and now we have that in our history forever and ever, until, I guess, unless it's deleted or something like that. So I have my break timer. Before we hit enter, let's see if there are any questions in the chat. There is some chat happening in the chat. Oh, cool. AJ is mentioning you can use the integrated terminal of VS Code to prevent switching back and forth. I think we'll do that because the VS Code does have an integrated terminal, which should be good. Yeah. Okay. Did you take a quick stretch, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And a sip of your coffee?
Oh, that's obligatory.
Cool. So we are going to make our first commit, so hit enter.
Okay, and enter.
We'll make sure your cursor's in the terminal. And I need to clear my annotations. There we go. Awesome. So you'll notice it says, ta-da, first commit. It says 1 file changed and 12 insertions. And it says created the file index.html. So this first commit is our initial commit, and we now have a history that we actually created this file. I don't have this in my README, but another thing you can do is log commits. And this basically allows you to see all of the commits that have happened in the past. So in this in the terminal, just type git space log. And it should show us that commit that you just made. There we go. And it gives us the hash of the commit, who the author was, what time it happened, and then the message specifically. So typically, like if you're looking for a past commit or something like that, you can type git log and it'll show you the commit ID and all of the information about all the commits that have happened in the past. Okay. Okay, and Robin in the chat, and hello Robin, is mentioning for your commit messages, use a convention like if someone were to apply this commit, something will happen. So it basically wants to be like in the future tense. So like changes header bar to have dark theme, or adds sign up button to the home page. So because when somebody is reading that commit message, they can know that if they were to go back to that commit or use that commit, that thing that it's describing is what's going to happen if they use that code. So it is good to use conventions like that in your messages, and make it a good habit to make good commit messages. Because especially, I was talking about earlier, if you're trying to use your GitHub repo as a bit of a portfolio piece and showing your past projects, it's really easy for someone to go in and look at your past commit messages and see, instead of saying it's working, or just like random typing on the keyboard or different things like that. This actually reminds me of an XKCD comic, Git commit messages. Yes. Actually, if I share my screen with you, Tony, I wonder if it'll stop sharing your screen with me?
Let's try it.
Let's see, because I want you to see this comic. It's funny. Share. This will stop sharing the other screen. Okay, that's fine. We'll get your screen back in a second. Cool. You can see my screen now, Tony?
Yes.
Cool. So this is a XKCD comic that talks about as my project drags on, my Git commit messages get less and less informative. So you see at the beginning, it's like very descriptive. And then all of a sudden it's like more code. Here, have code. Typing on the keyword. My hands are typing words. Hands. This really does happen. I've seen a lot of Git repos with just like the most random commit messages. But you do want to make it a good habit to be descriptive and just like have really good commit messages, because at the end of the day, this is all about collaboration. It's about working with other developers, and making sure you have good commit messages will make sure that other developers can understand or better understand what your code is about to do. Cool. Robin mentioned he posts something in the Discord. Let's check it out. I know people have written articles about like what makes a good commit message. Here. Yes. So a properly formed Git commit subject line should always be able to complete the following sentence. If applied, this commit will, your subject line here. So if applied, this commit will refactor subsystem X for readability. And it doesn't work with non-imperative forms. So like, if applied, this commit will fix bug with Y, changing behavior of X. So it really allows the person reading your commit messages to get a better idea of what will happen if they go back to that commit or if they merge that commit. Cool, thanks for that link, Robin. Okay, that was fun. We've staged it, we've logged it. Now is the time to push your code up to GitHub. And if you give me 1 second, my computer is running out of space. Cool. I think I fixed it. Okay. Cool. So everything we've done so far has only been on Tony's computer. It only exists on his computer. If his hard drive crashed today, we would lose all of the code that we've written. Now it's all about backing that up in the cloud. I keep saying in the cloud. We're gonna put it on the internet. We're gonna put it on GitHub. So can you share your screen, Tony?
Yeah. So let me share screen. Right.
Are you sharing? No.
Didn't work. Is it not working?
Here we go. I think I just did something wrong. Okay, so as I mentioned, everything we've done so far has been on Tony's computer. Now we actually want to push this stuff up to GitHub. So Tony, can you open your browser, make sure nothing weird is showing, and go to github.com.
Oh, I got it pulled up on my other monitor.
Okay, I have your screen hidden. Pull that window over into the window where we can see it, and go to github.com.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Actually, Tony, change your password on GitHub really quick. I'm hiding your screen. You see that?
Okay.
You see that message up at the top?
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal right now, but it is good to just change your password.
What is my new password gonna be?
Oh yeah, make sure you say it out loud, and then also be sure to mention your social security number out loud.
Oh, okay. I've messed up. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so AJ is mentioning consider using VS Code Live Share. I actually did that once with Brooks Build when we paired together. I'm curious how it works with Git commits though, because I know that because it's syncing. If you're both modifying something, whoever commits will get the credit for it. So this episode is definitely all about like not using something like LiveShare where it's just you're on two totally different computers and you want to be able to collaborate. But yes, I've definitely thought about it. And hello, Kamalesh. Welcome to the stream.
All right, I changed it.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So what was that saying? Like GitHub was compromised or something?
Not compromised. I guess we can talk about that really quick. Actually, no, let's not talk about that. Talk about it later.
Okay.
Because we've already been streaming for like an hour. So on GitHub, we want to create a repo so that way we can push to it. So up in the top right, you can see the plus sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so click that and then say new repository. And then you can give it a name. And so let's call it the same thing, newb-quest.life. You can literally call this anything you want, but it's good to be descriptive. And notice it is a public repo. If you had access to private repos, you'd have to pay for it, but you could make it private if you wanted to. And there are some other options down there. You'll notice it says like initialize this repository with a README. We don't want to do that right now. So because we have already created a Git repo locally on your machine, the Git repo we create on GitHub, we want it to be totally blank so that way we can take our GitHub locally and push it up to GitHub. So if you click create repository, wait a second, Tony, before you click that button, what was the equivalent command that you ran locally? Like, so when you click this button, it's going to do something in the cloud, but what do you think it's actually doing when you click that green button?
It's doing like a git init.
Exactly, yeah. So when you click that green button, it's doing a git init on GitHub, like on GitHub server, so that way we can push to it. So click on create repository.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So we just git initted in the cloud. Cool. And you'll notice when you create a new repo, there's a lot of different stuff it gives you. So the first one is creating a repository. We've pretty much done all of this, right? We did a git init, we did git add, we committed something. But now what we want to do is we want to push to a remote. So do I have it in my checklist? I don't. But the idea of a remote is some remote Git repository. So basically what we need to do is take the Git repo that is locally on Tony's machine and push it up to GitHub. So if you go, did you already, let's not copy it, but let's do this. If you copy the URL, not that one, but in here. So that is actually, you see where, yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually the remote URL. And what we're going to do is add it as a remote locally. So let's go to the terminal. And actually, let's try using the terminal inside of VS Code. So go to VS Code and press Control-Shift-P. And then search for toggle integrated terminal. Yes. Nice. Close that little thing down here, bottom right. And then try just typing like Git Status. Yeah, hit enter. Cool. So we have a terminal inside VS Code now. That's awesome. You can close the other terminal now.
Okay.
Cool. So what we want to do now is let this local Git repo, the one that's inside of this folder, know about the Git repo that's on GitHub. So what we're gonna do is add a remote. So the command here will be git remote add, and then afterwards we need to give this remote a name. Now it's convention that the original repo that this is a remote for is called origin. So just type the word origin. However, this word origin right there can actually be anything that you want. You could set this to Tony's repo, GitHub, Bitbucket. You can set that to anything you want, and you can actually add multiple remotes. But it is convention to call the main one origin. So we have that. And then paste in the URL that you copied. And now this command basically says, we want to add a remote for the current Git repo to be the one that's on GitHub. So if you hit enter, that has now added the remote. And if we want to see what remotes we have available, we can do git remote -v. And -v is for verbose, meaning it'll show us, okay, we have an origin remote that we can fetch from, and that's the URL. We have an origin remote that we can push to, and that's the URL. So in some projects, you might actually have multiple remotes. Like maybe you have your Heroku remote for deploying to Heroku. You have your remote for the main repo. You have your remote for your fork. You can actually have multiple remotes in here. So that's a remote. What questions do you have, Tony, about Git remotes?
I don't have any questions at the moment. I've done all this before. I guess like the explaining some of it now makes a little bit more make sense. Like I didn't really realize that like remote wasn't something associated with Git, because if I was deploying something to Heroku, it's like I kind of just like followed.
Yeah, git push Heroku master.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
basically like not really realizing like what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. And in that case, like it's literally a remote and its name is Heroku. So in that directory, if you were to do git remote -v, you would see multiple remotes. You would see origin, which would be like GitHub, and then you would see Heroku, which would be the Heroku Git URL. Cool. And if you go back to GitHub, you can actually see like whenever you create a new repo, it gives you this command that you can actually copy and paste in. So pull back open Chrome.
Yeah. Wait. GitHub. All right.
What happened to the GitHub repo? Oh, you open yeah, that one. That's the one. Close the other one. No worries. But you'll notice whenever you create a new repo, all the way at the bottom, it gave you that command. Notice git remote add origin and then the URL. And then it gives you one more command, git push -u origin master. Now, this command is what we will use to take our commits locally and push them up to GitHub. The -u stands for set upstream, but the main thing this does is it basically says origin master is now the default thing, and whenever I run git push to origin master. So if you go to your terminal, let's type that in.
Okay.
We're going to do git push -u origin master. And before you hit enter, so what this is saying is we want to push to the remote with the name origin, and we want to push to the master branch. Now we haven't talked about branches yet, but every Git repo comes with the master branch. That means this is the main branch, and we'll talk about later how you can create a branch and make commits on a branch. But for now, we have the master branch. And so what we're saying is take the master branch locally and all of its commits and push that up to GitHub. Are you ready, Tony?
Yes.
Hit enter.
All right.
You'll need to log into GitHub because we don't. I guess this is something else we could set up. It'd be tricky on stream because we'd have to set up SSH keys. But I'm gonna hide your screen real quick. Just go ahead and put in your GitHub credentials there.
Okay. What is happening?
Robin is mentioning you can mention co-authors in a Git commit. Yeah, I've never actually done that, but Git commit co-authors. Commit together with co-authors. Yeah, and it'll actually show both people's faces. The main thing about this, though, is I want to show just like one person at a time, because typically you're not always screen sharing with someone, and you may want to like write some code, and then somebody else writes some code, and they pull it down, and you collaborate in that way.
It's like my thing is stalling out right now. Like I can't type anything into the...
Oh, it might not... Are you on your password?
Well, yeah, but now it's just, I don't know what's happening.
No, so when you type your password, it's not going to show that you're typing.
Oh,
just
yeah, but now it just doesn't seem to show anything.
Let's see.
It popped up in another window.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and Oliver mentioned I guess maybe on Windows you can't necessarily set up SSH keys, so you might actually have to log in for every push and pull. That's unfortunate.
Right, let's see if this works. What is happening?
Cool.
So, see, now it's like saying my password. It's like changing the GitHub address. No, it's like
Somehow it detected a bunch of Fs in your. So, just press Control C. Get out of this. Control C. Control C. Hit Enter a few times. Okay, hit Enter. Yeah, you're out of it. Hit Enter again. Okay, keep hitting. Like, okay, so now we're in. There are no previous commands or anything like that. Just type git push -u origin master. Okay. Now, when this pops up, oh, I see. The GitHub program you have installed actually opened up.
okay. So yeah, it's on another window.
But what is that saying?
Well, that's like GitHub Login.
I see. I see. So because you have, can you just close it? Okay. Now type in your name, A Lamatina. Hit enter. There we go. Now type in your password.
All right. Hide the screen.
I'm hiding your screen. Like they can't see you type it, but yes.
Okay. It still says fatal. I don't even know what happened.
No. It worked. It worked. It worked. Well, I think what was happening is because you have the GitHub tool installed, it was basically trying to save your credentials on so that way in the future you wouldn't have to type it in. But I didn't want you to do that because the people that watch this video may not have the GitHub tool installed. And so then they'll get a prompt like this where they'll have to actually enter in their username and password whenever you push or pull. Okay, Tony, we have just pushed up to GitHub. Can you give me a summary of what's happened locally so far? Like what commands have we run? What did we have to do?
So basically, we've done a git init, which is almost like preparing our repo.
Yeah, I think if we use the game analogy, it's like starting a new game.
Yeah, it's just like kind of just your starter stuff. Like it's just like setting up everything to go into Git. It's almost like I kind of imagine like Git is like the Matrix or something, and you're like gearing up.
Yes, so we're plugging into the matrix.
Yeah. So right now we're pushing our stuff into the Matrix.
Okay.
With this command.
Yeah, and so we initted, we then added files, and so think back, Tony. What are the two states of a file? It's either what or what.
You're either untracked or tracked.
Right, and so if your file is tracked, that means that GitHub, whenever you commit, will actually put that file into the commit. And then we commit. Commits have what associated with them?
Wait, I'm sorry. Commits won't have.
Yeah, like what is in the commit? What do you have to typically type in whenever you're committing?
Oh, some sort of message.
Yeah, so commits have a message associated with them that tells future you and other developers what are you changing or what are you adding in that specific commit. The commit itself also contains all of the files that you started to track during that specific commit. But yeah, that kind of like bundles everything up, puts a name on it, and now it's in the Git history. Then we had to create a repo on GitHub. We got a remote. Describe to me in your own words, what is a Git remote?
Basically just like a tool for pushing up to Git.
So specifically, a Git remote is a Git repo somewhere on some other computer. In this case, our Git remote is on GitHub's computer. But we could also have a Git remote that's Gitlab, or a Git remote that is Bitbucket, or a Git remote that is Heroku, or our own custom server. But a remote is just some other Git server that we want to push code to or pull code from. Okay, so that's the remote. And then, yeah, what did we have to do to get our code up to the remote?
We had to specify the path.
And then what was the command we ran to put the code on the remote, or put the commits on the remote?
Push.
Yeah, git push origin master. So we're basically saying use the remote called origin and push that code up to GitHub. So now, Tony, if you go back to Chrome and then go to this one, yes, refresh the page. Ta-da! So when you ran that command, it took your local code and pushed it up to GitHub. Yeah, so if you click on the file, we should see, yeah, the code is there. We can see it. And if you go back and you click on one commit up at the top, we can see there's your smiling or not your very serious face with your name. So, so you got credit for this commit because it has your name on it. Cool. Did you really commit that 24 minutes ago? Did it take us that long?
I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah. We're moving kind of slow. Okay, but yeah, that's good stuff. So we initialized the Git repo. We pushed it up. Now it's time for the collaboration bit, where basically I'm going to clone his Git Hub repo and make some changes locally on my machine. Before I do that, let me share my screen with you, Tony.
All right.
This is another XKCD comic. So it's talking about like what is Git. So it says, this is Git. It tracks collaborative work on projects through a beautiful distributed graph theory tree model. Cool. How do we use it? No idea. Just memorize these shell commands and type them to sync up. If you get errors, save your work elsewhere, delete the project, and download a fresh copy. So those few commands that we've been using are pretty much the commands you're going to use all the time. Git init, git add, git commit, git push. There are other commands, and we'll talk about a few of them, but this is typically the way a lot of people use Git if they don't understand it very well, if you are running into errors. As long as your code is pushed up to some remote on the internet, you can always just delete what you have locally and pull down the working copy that is on the internet. Okay, that's funny, that's fun. Now, it is my turn to take the code that Tony's written and edit it on my computer. So, I was gonna say you pinned it, but no, it's popular. So, oh wait, somebody's already started? Oh, look at that. Hello, Meyer and Robin. You got some stars, Tony.
Nice.
Nice. This repo, I actually want to make some changes myself. Before we do that, we have been coding for about an hour and 15. Do we want to take a quick stretch, quick break? How are you feeling, Tony?
Yeah, sure. We can take a little break and maybe show the thing that we're going to be using today.
Before the break or after the break?
We could show it right now.
We could hold them in suspense. If you want to see the secret project, you have to wait 5 minutes. Should we hold them in suspense?
I don't know.
Okay, no, we won't. Okay, I'll show them. So the idea is this Newb Quest Life site that we're making is, we've talked about it in the past. And can you explain it, Tony? Because you've talked about it in the past.
Basically, like when you play the old Doom, when you're as your character like basically takes damage, like you see his face like kind of become more and more damaged. And we joked before like that as like we stream, the longer and longer the streams go on, like the more my nose bleeds.
Right, because like in past streams where like we're doing auth or we're doing more like back-end stuff, or like we'll code for like 3 hours and then Tony will get very what's the word?
Just fatigued.
Fatigued, yeah, that's the right word.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say like for CJ, it's kind of like he instead of it being like the same kind of fatigue, he gets kind of cloudy.
Right, it's like just harder for me to think straight. Like I'm still jolly and excited and like want to keep coding, but it takes me longer to like think through things. So for me, I get cloudy. But regardless, I guess I'll show in Discord. So Tony has created some pixel art of both of our faces, and we're gonna create a website where during the stream we can say or basically change what our current state or status is, and it will update the pixel art. So there's Tony. This would be like when we start the stream where he's good to go, and then there's just like a little bit fatigued, and then gradually his nose starts bleeding more and more, and then all of a sudden this is like, we need to end the stream now. Like Tony cannot do anything. And then he made one of me, And the idea with mine is because I get cloudy, we're just going to change the opacity on it. So the more exhausted I get, we're just going to make it more and more opaque until you like can't see me at all. But that's
it kind of looks a little weird in this. This is a rough version.
I don't know. It's okay.
We'll change this later on.
Yeah, and so Meyer is asking, are you referring to the face from Wolfenstein 3D? Or from that's not Doom, is it?
Was it Doom or Wolfenstein?
I
Yeah. Like I think it had both of them. But yeah, exactly.
Wolfenstein 3D. Doom. Oh, this. I think I googled this or searched for these images last time. Yeah, this is the Doom face. Like he gets he gets gradually like more beat up. Cool. So that's the idea, and I think right now the way we're going to handle this is if I want to change my current status to be like more cloudy, or if he wants to change his status to be more bloody nose, we have to actually make a commit to the repo, which will refresh GitHub pages. And so anytime we want to change, we need to commit to the repo. So that's what we'll be working on. We're going to take like a 5-minute break, but when we come back, I'm going to clone the repo locally. I'll make some changes. We'll show basically how you can take a repo on GitHub, bring it down to your machine, make changes, and push them back up. Okay. 5-minute break, Tony? Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Tony. Okay, cool. Yeah, so 5-minute break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. I realize you all can still see me. I'm gonna put a stay tuned message. Short break. Okay, right back. We're back. Hello. Okay. So at this point, Tony has pushed all of his code up to GitHub. Are you there, Tony?
Yep.
Hello. Okay, so the next thing is I want to contribute to this project that Tony has created. So one thing I can do is clone it down to my computer, make some changes, push them up, and then ask Tony to take those changes and pull them into his existing project. So the first thing I'll do is create a fork. So on GitHub, when you go to a GitHub repo, you'll see a button on the right called fork. And what this does is it allows you to make a complete copy of this repo on your own account. So you can see in the URL right now, this repo is on Tony's account, but I'm gonna make a complete copy that exists on my account. So let's do it. I'll click the fork button. I have a lot of organizations and things, but if you only have yours, this screen won't come up, but I'll choose my name because I wanna create the fork under my account. And you'll notice the image it shows is like photocopying it, but that's basically what it's done. It has made a complete copy of Tony's repo and now put it under my account. So you can see that the name on the URL is now my username. Cool. So that's the process of taking an existing repo, copying it to your account so that you can now make changes. So what I'll do now is clone this repo down to my machine so that I can make changes to it. So I can click this button, clone or download, and that gives me a URL that I can use. And now in my terminal, and actually I'll do this one directory up, I want to take the code on GitHub that's now under my account and clone it down to my machine. So the command for that is git clone, and then you put in the URL that it gives you. And this is going to take that repo under this account and create a directory and put all of the code inside of it. Go. That was actually pretty quick. And so now locally, I can go into that folder, newb_quest.life, and it has all of the files that Tony created in there. So I can open this up inside of code. We can see there's that HTML file that he created. And in the terminal, Tony, do you remember what is the command to show us all of the past commits?
Hold on a second. What wasn't it? Wasn't it Git Remote? No. I don't remember.
Let's look at the Readme. Actually, let me close Discord real quick. I'll give you a hint. We called it logging commits. So what's the command?
Logging? Was it
I'll give you a hint, Tony. Well, I'll just tell you what it is. It's git log. So if I type git log, it's going to show me all of the past commits. And you'll notice there is the commit that you made. It has your name, your email, your message. Everything's great. You sound kind of... Can you say something real quick, Tony? Let me make sure your audio levels are still good.
hello 11111?
Say something else?
Something else.
Okay, I think I might need to turn you all the way up, but we'll see. Yeah, so I now have a copy of his repo on my GitHub account. I then cloned it down. And Oliver is mentioning in the chat, HTTPS URL, are you sure? So in this little window here, if you have your SSH keys set up, you can use SSH, but you can also just use HTTPS. If it's a private repo, you probably want to use SSH because then you won't have to log in. But for cloning, HTTPS will work just fine because it doesn't require any credentials. It's just cloning down a public repo. Okay, so let's see our checklist. So I forked and cloned the GitHub repo. And again, cloning is taking a repo that exists on GitHub and bringing it down to your computer. Now, one thing I did before I cloned was fork it. You don't necessarily have to fork a repo. Like if you see a GitHub repo with code that you want to use, you don't have to fork it. You can actually just clone directly from the GitHub repo itself. But I want to be able to collaborate with Tony, so I've created the fork so that way we can use the collaboration process. Questions about that, Tony?
Not at the moment.
Okay, cool. So we cloned it down. Now, I'm actually going to create a branch. So the idea of a branch is it, and actually I think we can visualize this with the visualizing Git tool. So you can think of commits as just like checkpoints, right? So like Tony made a commit, it's like a checkpoint. We make another commit, that's another checkpoint. Make another commit, that's a checkpoint. And so right now, there's only one commit, but you can think of it like linearly. But what I'm going to do is create a branch. And a branch is an exact copy of the code starting at the current commit. So I'll do git branch, and basically, or git, I think git checkout, we'll say like adding readme. Cool. And so if I check out a branch, it's now at the exact same place as master, but when I'm on a branch, if I start making commits, it actually is, oh, I actually need to switch, or do I? Cool. It's still linear because nothing has been added to master, but you can think of it as like totally separate. If I checked out the master branch, I'd get back to you before I was making those commits. And the idea is I want to make a branch because when I make the requests for Tony to merge my changes in, I don't want those to be on the master. I want them to be on a separate branch. So locally, I'm going to create a branch. So I can do git checkout -b, and I'll call it add readme. And locally, you'll notice it checked out the branch and then switched to a new branch. And I have in my terminal enabled, depending on what branch you're on, it has that listed. So the master branch is the main one. That's what everyone sees when you look here. But I just created a new branch, and that's where I'm going to be making my commits. So now let's make some changes. So one thing I do want to do is add a readme to this. So let's add a readme.md. Newb quest life. This page shows the current life status of Tony and CJ on the Newb quest streams. See it live at https://newb-quest.life. And actually, I bought this domain earlier today. Cool. So I have created this file. Tony, what is the status of the Readme file right now?
It should be untracked because we haven't added it, right?
Right. So if I do git status, you'll notice Readme is untracked. So how can I start tracking it?
Aren't we adding?
Yes, so we'll add it, and it gives us a hint, git add file. And right now I'll show what we mentioned earlier. So technically I could do git add readme, and that will add that one file. But if I do want to add multiple things, I can do a period, and that means in the current directory, any files that are untracked, and anything in a nested directory, anything that's untracked, start tracking it. You can also do git-a, and that means anything, whether it's in the directory above me or below me, anything in this Git repo that is not tracked yet, start tracking it. I'm just going to do git add dot. And if I do a git status, what should I see?
It should say, I don't remember exactly, but it's going to turn up yellow. Green.
So what's the what will the status of readme be?
Tracked.
Right. So changes to be committed, and we have readme there because it was tracked. And so now if I want to commit it, do a commit message. Let's use what Robin was mentioning earlier. You want a good commit message. Let me pull back open the Discord because there's a specific type of way we should phrase this. And again, it's just convention, but it's a good convention to have, especially when you're working on larger teams. So if applied, this commit will add readme. Cool. So I'm basically adding a README to the file, so to the repo. So I'm going to commit this, and now if I do a git log, we should see, okay, there's Tony's commit and there is my commit. But you'll notice right now I am still on the add README branch. What will happen is if I go back to the master branch, this commit is not there. So let's see if we can visualize this here. So if I do something like git checkout master, when I check out master, it goes before any of those commits have happened. And I kind of just want to show that locally to see what happens. So I'll do git checkout master. And now you'll see the README disappeared, right? So the README is no longer there because I'm on the master branch. And if I log here, it's only that one commit. But if I check out that branch that I created before, the README will pop right back up. There we go. Because now I'm in its Git history, which actually has that README file. Let's take a quick stretch. And hello, Shulian. Welcome to the stream. It has been a while. Cool. And there's a question earlier from Ed, a little bit off topic. Have you worked with Linux much? I want to start getting into working with Linux. I have. I mainly just started by just using it. So I installed it on my laptop. I installed Ubuntu and kind of just used it as my main operating system. And then just got really used to working on the command line. Ubuntu is always a great place to start. There's also Linux Mint. And there are a few other pretty like easy to set up, easy to use Linux. It's a good place to get your feet wet. Okay, Tony, where are we? Let's look at our. So we created a branch. We staged and committed files on the local branch. The thing to note about that is I didn't have to do anything special. As long as I'm currently working on this branch, any commits that I make will be on this branch. Okay. Now, I want to push this branch up to GitHub. So if you type git branch, it will actually show you all of your branches. So right now I have master and I have add readme. So if I want to push add readme up to GitHub, so Tony, what was the command to push to GitHub?
Wasn't it just git push?
Git push, and then we had to do origin
Remote.
master. Yeah, so the name of the remote, and then the name of the branch, which was master. But in this case, I don't want master. What do I want?
You want the branch.
Yeah, which is add readme. So, and actually, before I even run that, if I show you my local remotes, we can see that right now it's going to push it up to my GitHub account under W3CJ. So I'll do git push origin add readme.
And so I have to approve this for it to appear on the thing, right?
Well, it won't even appear just yet because you'll notice I'm pushing to my fork, right? So on your repo, you won't even see the changes, but you'll notice on GitHub, it says recently pushed branches, add readme. So if I refresh the page, right now I'm on my copy of your repo, and you can see under branches there are 2, and I can click on add readme to see that branch and actually see that there's a readme there now. This is another good thing to mention, like in your Git repo, you typically want a readme file. And if you name it readme.md, MD stands for Markdown, on GitHub, it will show that file. So you can describe the code in it and maybe steps for setting it up or different things like that. So pretty much every repo you create, you're going to want to have a readme. But now you'll notice I'm on the add readme branch and it's under W3CJ. But now, if we go back to Tony's repo, he doesn't have this branch, and he doesn't have that file. So what I'm going to do now is make a pull request. Basically, I'm going to say, hey, Tony, I made some changes, and it's on this branch on my fork. I want you to merge those changes into your master. And if he does, those changes will now show up on his main repo. So let's look at our README. So we push to a branch. Now let's make a pull request. So on my fork, I'm going to click this button, compare and pull request. And it does it automatically for me. It says the base fork is Tony's, meaning this is what I'm going to be requesting that he merge my changes into. And the head fork is the branch that I just pushed to. So I can have a message here. I can leave a comment. Just say like, adding a README. Hope you like it. and then we'll do an emoji 100. Cool. And then I'll click create pull request. And now, Mr. Tony, let me switch to your screen. So I'm going to stop sharing. Can you share your screen, please?
Yes. Okay. Hold on. Where did it go? So I'm going to click share. Click the desktop. Should be good.
Yes, we can see you. Let me answer a few questions in the chat real quick. So Sean is mentioning pretty new to coding, starting a full stack immersive in October. I have a few Udemy courses and reading the You Don't Know JS books. Any other good resources anyone recommends before it starts? Let's talk about that. Remind me, if you're still watching at the end, remind me and I'll give you some books that I like and online resources.
Free Code Camp.
Yeah, Free Code Camp is awesome. So Tony has been working on Free Code Camp. Yeah, can you go ahead and can you talk a little bit about it? Like, what do you like about it, or what does it give you?
One of the things I like about Free Code Camp is it's kind of like a whole course that has like a lot of documentation, and there's like a whole community of people, and depending on where you're at, there may even be like a meetup group. Like,
yes, yeah, in Denver there's the free, like they meet once or twice a month and people just all go in the same room and you can ask for help or help each other. Yeah, and it's all free.
yeah, there's that, and then even before, like, if that, like, that seems kind of like too big, because it's like a whole bunch of different lessons that are kind of broken up, but it still looks pretty crazy. The first thing I ever messed around with was Code Academy.
Right, and they do have some free courses. Code Academy.
Yeah, and all that stuff's in browser too, so you don't have to download any software. You don't have to know anything about like what we're doing. Like, we're using all like code editors and different things. Like, this would be, you're just on their website doing code.
Yeah, it's a really good introduction. And Shulian is asking, what do I think about GitLab? At work they use it, but don't see the difference. Yeah, I mean, the only difference is it's a different company. So we kind of talked about at the beginning of the stream. GitHub is in a category of like basically Git on the internet or Git in the cloud, and there are other services like GitLab, Bitbucket, host your own with Git. You can host your own version of GitLab. They all work in the very same way. It's just hosted on a different server. Maybe it's a different company that's doing it, but pretty much all the same concepts apply. Okay, so Tony, if you go, so right now you'll notice in the URL we're on. Let me move this. We're on Tony's page, right? So A. Lamatina and his. If he clicks on pull requests, he can see that I actually made this pull request. So if you click on add readme. Yeah, click it again. No, right here.
Wait, where? Oh.
Yeah, so, so this is specifically is the pull request that I created. And you can close that. Looks like you got your first contribution. Close this.
Oh yeah, this is a big deal for me.
So you can notice that like I'm saying adding readme, hope you like it. I basically left a message for him. It tells me how many commits are in this pull request and how many files were changed. So I only changed one file. I added the readme, and Tony can actually click on the commit ID over there, right here, which will show us all of the files that changed. And basically, if he were to merge this pull request into his repo, this is what he would be getting. And you'll notice any new files are going to be in green. And this is basically showing Tony that I created a new file called readme.md, and this is the contents of the readme. Right now, we're just adding new files, but later on, if we make changes to files, it'll actually show you what line of code in what file changed. So that's cool. You can go go back to the pull requests. And so if you, and go back into it, if you approve, do you approve this, Tony?
I'll allow it.
And so if Tony wants to allow it, he can click this button, merge pull request, and basically it will take the changes that I made and merge them into his remote on GitHub. So click that button, Tony. Pew. And confirm it.
Confirm merge.
Yep. And GitHub will, it basically, whenever you merge that commit in, it basically doesn't close the issue, but it marks that issue as this has been merged. And it's also like, if this was someone else collaborating, you could leave a comment right there. It's like, thanks for the contribution, or whatever you want. Thanks for your Readme file, sir. Cool. Thumbs up. Awesome. And actually, the way GitHub works out is if I get any comments on a pull request that I made, I'll actually get a notification that, hey, someone commented on this. But because you merged that in, so if you scroll back up, Tony, and you go back to the code there, you'll notice that now you have a README. And if you click on commits, you can see there are now multiple commits. So Tony has the first commit, then CJ added the README, and then the process of merging is itself a commit. So you'll notice it says merge pull request number 1 from w3cj/add README. So that now shows that he actually merged it in. Awesome. But Tony, you will notice, so if you go back to the main page, right now GitHub has 3 commits, right?
Right.
And locally on your machine, you only have 1 commit. So go back to VS Code and then full screen it. Yep. And then right here, just type Git Status. Whoa. Press enter a few times. There's like some weird alias thing. Can you type clear and then hit enter? Awesome. Now do Git Status. And it right now says you're on branch master. It's up to date with origin master, but is it? So right now it's not actually up to date, right, Tony? Because you don't have the README file locally, right?
Right.
So what you can do is fetch all of the changes from GitHub, so that way we know that something has changed. So actually just type git fetch. Cool. And in a second, and Sean just donated through Super Chat, $5. Thanks so much, Sean. Sean says, I love the channel and all the series you have. Your channel is a major reason I've decided to go into the immersive. Thanks and keep up the good work. You are very welcome, and keep at it. Okay, so now do a git status. Okay, so notice. So doing a git fetch, it doesn't change your current code locally, but what it does is if any changes have happened on the remote, and they have, because on GitHub we created a pull request and you merge those things in. Now, when you do git status, notice what it tells you. Your branch is behind origin master by 2 commits, right? Because there are 2 commits on GitHub that you don't have locally in your folder, right?
Right.
So if you now want to get those changes locally, you can do a git pool. So if you type git space pool, it'll default to the origin master, but if you hit enter there, you'll notice it pulls down the changes and it tells you what happened. So it created README, and there were 6 lines of code in there. So now, look in your directory, you have README. If you can click on it. Cool, and you have all those changes. Awesome. So that was the process of accepting a pull request, and then locally on your repo, like your computer's repo, getting all of the changes that happened on GitHub and bringing them down locally. Awesome. What questions do you have, Tony?
I don't think anything at the moment. Like, I guess like the only question I would have is if we did have 2 separate branches working and we did a fetch, would it show that there's multiple branches since we technically only had the 1 branch last time we checked?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the idea, is like git fetch will bring all of anything that's changed, it brings it down so you can have that status locally and potentially check out those branches if you wanted to. So yeah, it's like if I created a branch, pushed it up, and then you you hadn't done anything locally, if you do a git fetch, then if you do a git branch, you'll actually see that branch listed and you'd be able to check it out.
Okay, so like, would that make sense? Like for somebody to let's say we had some video game or website and we had like three different versions that we were working on, and we had like three different branches. Like, would one person have like three branches on their machine?
Potentially, yeah. So, and especially if they want to be making changes to each of the different branches, then yeah, they would have all of those locally. They would make any commits to a given branch depending on what they wanted to change. They would push up that branch, their changes to that branch on GitHub, and then anyone else could pull down the changes from that branch as well. Cool. Let's look at our README. So we made a pull request. Tony accepted the pull request. And then got all of the changes there. So this process would be pretty much what you use if you want to add a contribution to a repo that you don't own, or maybe you don't even know the person that made the repo. Maybe you've seen their code and you want to help them out and add something to it. So this process of forking it, changing it, and then making a pull request is how you collaborate with other developers. But it's also possible to add collaborators to a GitHub repo to make it so that anybody that's a collaborator doesn't necessarily have to make a pull request. They have the rights to just push directly to that repo if they wanted to. So I think we'll do that. Before we do that, though, I just want to show locally on my machine. When I go back to the master branch, I'm no longer in sync with Tony's master branch. So I'm going to show how to sync that up. Then once we get everything in sync, we'll start actually like writing some code and doing lots of commits. So let me share my screen. You see my screen, Tony?
See it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so locally, so right now I'm on the add readme branch. Let's take a quick stretch. And if I check out the master branch, git checkout master, we're back to not having the readme. So if I do a git log, we're still just we only have that one commit. Now, if I look at my GitHub, so if I look at, not this one, my fork. Cool, yeah, so if I look at my fork, my master branch, you'll notice it now says it's 2 commits behind Tony. Because if we go to Tony's, his actually has the README on the master branch. So if I want to get my master branch in sync, I can actually pull from his remote. So this is where things get interesting. So what I'm going to do is grab the remote for Tony's repo, and then locally on my machine, I'm going to add that remote. So right now, if I do a git remote, I only have my remote, the W3CJ remote. But if I want to add Tony, I can do git remote. Do you remember what it is, Tony?
The fetch.
Well, how do we add a remote?
We're pulling.
Yeah. So, but it's git remote add.
Oh.
And then we give it a name. So I'm going to call it Tony. And then you give it the URL. So if I do that, now when I do git remote -v, we have origin, which is mine, and then we also have Tony, which points to his. And so now that I'm on the master branch, I can actually do git pool Tony master, and that's going to take any of the commits that are on the Tony remote and the master branch and pull them down locally into my master branch here. And now if I do a git log, it has everything. So it has the merge, it has my commit, it has Tony's commit as well. Cool?
Ooh.
Cool. And I guess now it's important to note that like if I were to check out the add readme branch, that one is technically, so git checkout add readme, that one's still technically behind by 1 commit because it doesn't have that merge commit that's actually on the master. So because I'm done working with this branch, I would actually just want to delete it. So let me check out master again. And I believe I can delete a branch. Let's do git branch help. It'll tell us what we can do. So git branch, I believe -d will be deleting. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, so with the -D or -D, that branch name will be deleted. You may specify more than one branch for deletion. So technically, because I'm done with that add readme branch, I'm just going to delete it. So I'm going to do git branch -D add readme. And now it deleted that branch. However, if I go to my my fork here on GitHub, that branch didn't get deleted on the remote. It's still here. And actually, so on here, I'm not using it anymore, so I'll delete this. And that's really just good practice, because you don't want to have like all these branches of all your different changes that you made. When you're done with something and when it got merged, you can just go ahead and delete it. The last thing is, you'll notice that on my fork, I'm still 2 commits behind. So how can I take what I have right here, locally on my machine, and push it up to the master branch on W3CJ? What command can I run?
You can run Git Add and then push.
Well, I don't need to add, because because if I do a Git Status, there's nothing that's changed.
Okay,
But
so
I
you
do
just
need
push.
to, git push. And that should push to the origin remote, which is W3CJ, and now W3CJ's is even with a Lamatina. So both of our, so like the original repo and then now my fork of the repo are exactly in sync. Awesome. Actually, I think we can keep using this flow. I did mention in the README that we might want to do adding collaborators. Let's not do that. All right, let's write some more code. So Tony, can you please share your screen?
Yes.
I'll stop the share real quick. Awesome. Okay, so let's actually get coding. In the index.html, let's give it some basic styles. So in the head, let's link in some CSS. So right after that, just do like a link. And let's call it styles.css. Cool. And then let's create a file called styles.css. Cool. Let's say, let's make everything have no margin and padding. So just do star and then curly braces, and then just say margin 0, padding 0. And what are you thinking about for the style of the site? Like, I'm thinking we just have like the 2 faces side by side. And then like maybe at the top we have new quest life.
Yeah, that sounds good.
How about for the background color, we do like a beigeish, like eggshell color? What do you think? Or what color should the background be?
What do they have for the? I want to like pull up the Wolfenstein UI.
Oh yeah, pull that up. I think maybe it's like gray. Oh yeah, we could do like a, maybe we do like a wolfen. I'm not looking at your screen anymore. Maybe we do like an image background or something like that. Wolfenstein. Wait, or it's Doom though, right?
Yeah, Doom or Wolfenstein. I think Wolfenstein used a blue one. I don't know if Wolfenstein is the best thing to pull up because all the swastikas.
Okay, I won't do that then. Can we search?
Oh, Doom. Yeah, Doom looks a lot cooler because it has the gray kind of metallic looking thing. Yeah, we should make it look like that.
Can I look at your screen right now? Oh, can you see my screen? You can't see my screen, can you?
No, I can't see your screen.
Can you pull up on your screen what you're looking at?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
So, like, which one of these should we should use something like that, right?
Yeah, I think like just like right here, like we have like our fake, because the PNG has no background, right? So we can put like whatever color we want behind it, and then we can put ourselves in like these kind of, maybe we can even find like some sort of pixelated
Font?
pixelated font, and maybe even a pixelated like texture or something.
Okay. Scroll down. Let's find like just something that doesn't have that on it, and we can use it as the background. So like scroll down.
Well, these are just like a bunch of resources or stuff.
Well then, okay, can we find something like this, like a room with like the gray?
Yeah, let me pull up on my other monitor.
Oliver has a great suggestion. So create the GUI, and instead of we'll have like a screen that would have the GUI in it, but instead of the game, it actually has the embedded live stream. Oh no! Like it could just be like this. It could be like the live stream is full screen, and then at the bottom it has our health meters.
Yeah. It's almost, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's do that. Um, let's just get the like the bottom thing going, and I guess give it like a black. For now, let's give the body a black background. So let's go back to the code.
Okay, so would this be considered like a footer almost?
I think so. Yeah, we're just going to use CSS to probably do like a fixed position on it.
Okay.
So after this, do a let's do the body and just give it a background of black. And save that. And I guess now the header is going to go away. That's fine. Give it a background of black and color of white, just so we'll see the header. And let's try it out. Do you have a light server installed locally on your machine?
I do.
Yeah. So in the directory, just run light server. You can do it there inside of VS Code.
Okay. Just right here?
Yeah, light-server.
Oh, weird.
It should work. Yeah, it's just doing like a weird aliasing thing where it like has the previous commands in there. There we go.
Okay, cool.
New request live. And for now, let's make the font like sans serif. Click on. Right now you have click that button because you have the mode on. There you go. And then in here, let's give it a font family of sans serif. And text align center. This is all going to go away. I just want it to look decent right now. Cool. Okay. We have some basic stylings. I think you should add, commit, push it on up, and then I'll make some commits as well. So I guess in the terminal, you can actually create a new one. So over on the right, click the plus button right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, so this right here is your drop down. So you have two different windows. You have Node, which is running light server, and then this one is where you'll do like your Git commands. So Tony, let's check the status of this Git repository. So we have changes to an existing file that are not staged for commit. So we modified index.html because we added the link. And then styles.css is a totally new file. So let's add everything. Dash capital A, I believe.
It says just -A right there.
Well, that's for commit.
Oh, okay. Right, Git, right?
Okay, and now do a git status, and let's see how we're doing. So cool. So now we have both of those two files staged for commit. And then let's commit them.
Just git commit.
Mm-hmm. And then be sure to provide a good message.
Added style sheet.
Yeah, that's a great message. And then push it up to GitHub.
Just git push.
Yeah, I believe so. And then you'll have to log in. I'll hide your screen real quick.
Oh, every time? Oh my god.
Well, actually, did GitHub pop up this time?
No, not this time.
Okay. Oh yeah, we forgot. We forgot to make a branch. Oliver is saying, Tony just working on the master branch. What is life? Typically, when you are collaborating, you don't want to just work on the master branch. We are pairing though. We'll try to make branches from here on out though. Okay, so you pushed it up. If I refresh yours, you have the latest. And now, if I go to mine, I need to pull from your remote again. So git pull Tony master. Oh, actually, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen with you. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now if I want the changes that you have on yours, I need to pull them down to my local machine. Git Pool Tony Master, cool. And now in VS Code, I should see now there's a style sheet. I have all the changes. I actually have a plugin in VS Code that tells me like who committed what and where, so I can click a line of code and see A Lamatina added that, or in here, A Lamatina added that, or in the README, I committed that. So that's a pretty cool plugin in VS Code. It's called Git Lens, so you can really know like who changed what line of code. Okay, so I have the changes locally. I can actually start up Light Server locally as well and see the site on my machine. Awesome. Let's actually, if we look at our README, we don't have any merge conflicts just yet, but let's set up GitHub Pages. Cool. Okay, Tony, I'm going to stop sharing. Please share your screen, and we're going to set up GitHub Pages on the repo so that way it actually hosts it on the interwebs.
Okay.
So pull up Chrome and go to the GitHub repo.
What's happening?
That one.
All right. All right.
And now go into settings. And actually, if you refresh the page, we should see the latest changes. Yeah, now there's 4 commits. Awesome. Go into settings. And scroll down, 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 down. GitHub Pages. Okay. So source, if you click on source, we're just going to make the master branch the source for GitHub Pages. So click on that and say master branch. And then click save. And I believe, yeah, so now your site is ready to be published at that URL. So if you scroll up, click that URL. I guess we haven't published yet, but go back. And then scroll down. We do want to set the custom domain, so just make it newb-quest.life. I think we're going to have to do some validation later. But okay, save it. And actually, how do we publish something? Hey, wow, it works. That's amazing. Scroll back down in the settings. Let's check enforce HTTPS. Oh, not enable. Okay, because I guess the cool thing is GitHub actually added this for pages. Eventually, they will add a HTTPS SSL certificate issued by Let's Encrypt, I believe, and then we can use HTTPS. But we have to wait for it to process. But we're live on the internet. That is awesome. So can you go to that second tab?
What, right here?
Oh no, just the in your browser.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's the local host.
No. See, look at the URL. Oh, I see. But yeah, so now any changes that are merged into the master branch will be visible on the web at our custom domain, newbquest.life. I didn't show it here, but earlier I actually bought this domain, and I set up so that it actually points to GitHub. So yeah, that's great. Okay, I need to take a quick bathroom break. Let's do another 5-minute break. How are you feeling, Tony? We're not able to have the status icons yet, but what's your nosebleed level?
I'm probably about a 3. I'm just kind of, yeah, we got back from that show last night really late.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, do you want to show that picture for that?
No, I don't. Cool. Are you okay with a 5-minute break, and then we'll try to get this thing coded, and then we can end the stream.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, 5-minute break. Check out newbquest.life, and there it is. But yeah, we'll do a 5-minute break. We'll be right back, and then we'll start adding features and committing and merging pull requests and branching and all that good stuff. Stay tuned. Let's do this and this. See you soon. Hello, we're back. Are you still there, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Nosebleed level 3 or 4?
Maybe 3.
Cool. Before we get started, I just want to mention Ed did share a link in the Discord for a template for a Readme, which is actually really good. And the idea is you can copy this template and fill it out with your own details for the project that you're working on. So typically you want a title, you want like a getting started section, maybe prerequisites like what do you need installed on your machine beforehand, how do you run the tests, how do you deploy it, if other people are going to be contributing. A convention is typically to have this contributing.md file, which describes, they even have a contributing template. That's awesome. So like, how do you make a pull request? What's the code of conduct? And all that other good stuff. But this is a really good template. You can actually click on fork, or you can click raw, and you can see the raw markdown of it, and just like copy and paste this into your README and update it accordingly. We're going to keep our README fairly simple because it is just like a front-end project, but it really is good to do something like this. Okay, where were we? So I believe, got the latest changes. If I do a git status, because I pulled down, my origin master is no longer in sync. So like Tony now has 5 commits, all this stuff. Oh, and actually, locally, you're not going to be in sync anymore, Tony, because you need to pool, because whenever we added the domain name, it created the CNAME file.
Okay, so should I go pull up my terminal?
Yeah, I'm going to show your screen real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so in your terminal, if you do a git pool, and you can use the other one. Yep.
Okay. Git
pool. And that brings down the CNAME file. So in the GitHub GUI, whenever we added a domain name, it actually created this commit for us and created this file. So we had to be sure to bring down that commit, so that way we're not out of sync with the remote anymore. And I'll need to do the same thing and do a git pool Tony master. Cool. And then I need to push this up to my remote, so git push origin master, and now my fork should be in sync with all of that. Yeah, and so my fork is now totally in sync with Tony's repo. Okay, let's make some changes. What should I work on, Tony? Should I do, let's like add the video embed maybe?
Yeah, and would we have like a message or something that says like basically if it's pulled up and there's no video embed, like currently offline?
I don't know how exactly we would check that. Let's see though. Is there a like YouTube Coding Garden with CJ? We can just embed this this video. Actually, if I go to Coding Gardens with CJ/live, want to mute it? Okay. There I am. And if I share it and I want to embed it, yeah, it actually has a specific ID though. But technically, I think we really just want to take this iframe and like make it full screen inside of the on the page.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we'll do that. We're gonna take that is what we will do. So in here, let's get rid of the header. Let's just have the iframe there, and we do want to style it. So
can you share your screen?
Oh yeah, sorry. That. Go. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so what I did was I grabbed the iframe share that came with the YouTube video. Right now, it's going to be hard-coded to this specific live stream. So basically, we'll have to make a commit with the latest live stream. In the future, we could connect to an API and like get the latest video and show that. But
it feels kind of weirdly meta that we're doing a live stream, and then we're coding something that is placing the live stream that we're currently having in another web browser, that's broadcasting itself. Like it.
Is very meta. We're getting extremely meta on the stream. Okay, so we've got the iframe. Let's just see what that looks like. So this is the deployed one locally. Okay, so it's like a tiny little thing. Let's see if we can use some CSS to make it bigger. So I'm gonna make the body have a width of 100 view width and a height of 100 view height. And then let's say the iframe has a width of 100%.
Height is auto.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Actually, let's make it 100% because the YouTube embed should automatically resize it accordingly. Yeah, so we actually don't like that it's... Let's do a height. What happens if we do height auto? Yeah, it's weird. So we want height as 100%, but then we can do like a max height of 100 view height. So that way it doesn't extend past. Yeah, now it like doesn't scroll. We can embed it. Let's make sure we mute it.
Oh, weird.
So the stream is inside the stream. Awesome. So now what we want to do is we want to put the life bar at the bottom. And this should be like responsive because we did 100%. Like now, no matter the size of this window, the video is going to take up the whole thing. So that's pretty great. Okay.
Then we'll just have our little GUI.
Yeah, so we're going to put like the, what did we call it?
It's just like it's just like a reference to the little GUI like HUD display that would be on the game.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and commit what I have, and then I'll let you start coding. Oh no, I'm doing it on the master branch again. That's okay. I haven't committed anything, so what I actually want to do is before I commit, check out a branch. So I'm gonna do git checkout a branch. We'll call this add live stream embed. So now I have the second branch. I've checked out a branch, and if I do git status, I still haven't committed anything, so I'm going to add everything. And then I will commit it. Added live stream embed. Now I'm going to push up to my fork. So git push origin add live stream embed. Okay, so I've pushed up to my fork. Now on my fork, I can make a pull request. So notice GitHub shows me that I created this new branch. Let's make a pull request. So I'll create the pull request. And yeah, so now Tony should be able to see it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Can you share your screen, Tony, so we can watch you accept it?
Yes. Okay. So let me hit share screen. And share screen. All right.
Awesome. So if you go over to GitHub, you're going to have to accept this pull request. So if you click on pull requests up at the top, you can see, yes, there it is. And now, again, wait, before you merge it, you always want to check what did I change. So you can click on the commit ID and you can see what exactly I did in this commit. And this is also what I wanted to show. So you can see anything that's red are like lines of code that I removed, and anything that's green are lines of code that I added. So basically I removed the header and just added the iframe. And then you can also notice that I added a few styles to the body and then added that iframe style there. So that's great. So now you can go back because do you approve these changes, Tony?
I will allow it.
Okay, so you can click confirm merge, and that will merge the changes in. Awesome. And because they're now in master, if we go to the deployed website, I wonder how quick if it refreshes. So refresh it. It might take a few minutes to get in sync with the master branch, but eventually that'll be live on the internet as well. So, okay. Shulian in the chat mentions Padawan Tony learning from Master CJ.
On the master branch.
Awesome. Okay, so can you pull up that image of the Doom status bar that's down at the bottom? Did you have that somewhere? Maybe you have to search for it again. I don't know.
Yeah, let me pull it up on my other thing. I don't want to pull up something crazy.
I'll hide your screen real quick. Christian's mentioning Padawan sounds more polite than noob. That is what we should call them. Padawans. Young Padawan. Padawan. Cool. And while Tony is doing that, so now that pull request is no longer there. He has the latest changes. So locally, I want to make sure that I go back to my master branch and then pull from his master. So I'm going to check out master. I will pull from Tony's master. So now I should have all of the changes, including the merge pull request commit. And then if I do git branch, that add livestream embed branch is still there. So I actually just want to delete this because I know I'm not going to use that anymore. So git branch -d, that. And then I'm going to push up to my origin, which is my fork. And so now my fork should be in sync. So if we go to W3CJ, you'll notice it's now even. But again, we have that extra branch that we're not using anymore, so let's just delete it. There we go. All right, are you ready to show your screen, Tony?
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Trying to pull open this thing in a tab. All right, yeah, I got it pulled up.
Okay, so basically we kind of want to emulate this, but we're going to have like maybe one of us on the left, one of us on the right. Maybe we should find a font to use.
Yeah, we could pull up in a Google Fonts.
Yeah, let's go to Google Fonts and see if we can find like a game font. More of like a blocky, pixelated font.
Yeah, maybe that's even a thing I could search for, like 8.
Ooh.
Oh. Ooh.
Press start. That's decent.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Click on it because we can see the different. Before you click on press start 2P, like the name of it. Yeah, because we can see the different font weights. Scroll down.
I think it's just one.
Oh, just regular. Okay.
That's fine.
It works. It definitely works. Okay, so you scroll all the way up, select this font. That's going to give us a link tag that we can add. So let's add that. And then, yes. Did you already pull? You're going to need to, wait. Oh, you know what? Go ahead and do this, Tony. Go ahead and do this. Actually, it should actually work, but okay. So Tony has started modifying, but in your terminal, Tony, do a, well, go ahead and save this file first. Now do a git fetch, and then do a git status. If you scroll up just a little bit, actually full screen your editor, please. Yeah, and in the terminal, scroll up just a little bit. Notice you are behind the master branch by 2 commits, right? Because you merged my pull requests, but you haven't pulled those changes down locally yet. So try doing a git pull origin master. It might work. We might have like an automatic merge. So that's something to show. You might actually have to fix that. So scroll all the way down.
All right.
Now do a git pull origin master. I think we actually will get an error because you have a modified file. Okay, notice your local changes to the following files would be overwritten by the merge. So because the pull request that you accepted modified index.html, because like I made changes to it by adding the embedded livestream, right now, locally, you have modified index.html. So because you've modified it and you have not committed it yet, Git is just stopping you in your tracks, and like it's not even pulling anything from GitHub yet. It's like, whoa. You modified a file that's going to be overwritten, so we're just quitting. You need to do something. So what you should do first is commit your changes.
Okay. So
what's the first step to committing? First thing you need to do is
we're going to check our Git status.
And we need to do an add.
We're going to Git Add
I mean, really, we should be doing this on a branch, but it's okay.
All right.
Yeah, so add index.html. Now do a git status, see where we're at. Okay. And now you need to commit it because you added it. Now we commit it with a message, add font link, added font link, added. Okay. Cool. And, oh yeah, go ahead and try pushing, Tony, see what happens.
Nothing.
Oh, you'll need to log in real quick. So just log in really quick so we can see what the error is.
All right.
Oh, and Skilly has a good question in the chat. How do you test a pull request? Does a pull request create a temporary branch or to test or something? It doesn't, but the way to do it would be to like create a branch locally. So if I wanted to test a pull request, what I could do is, let's take a quick stretch. On my machine, I would make sure I'm on the master branch and I'm up to date. And then I would do something like git checkout branch testing Tony's pool. And then now I'm on this branch and I could add Tony's GitHub project as a remote, which I already have. And inside of here, I could do something like git pool Tony and then some feature Tony is adding. And this would be the name of the branch that he is making the pull request on. And that's going to take the code from that branch and pull it down into my local branch here. And then I have all of his code locally, so I can test it out. I can make sure it does what he says it's doing. And then locally, I would just delete this branch and merge it on GitHub. But it's basically, you take advantage of the fact that you can use the remote of the person's pull request you're trying to test and pull the code from the branch or whatever branch they made those changes on, pull that into just a local branch of your own to test it out. Oh, Sean is mentioning in the chat, brand new to Discord. The idea with that form, though, is on the very last page, there is a link to the Discord, so you need to be sure to just click that link on the very last page. What you can do is kind of just like click through it, and then when you get to, actually I think it's the form submission page. We'll work that out. You can shoot me a message on YouTube later if you can't get in. Okay, Tony, what happened? There we go. Failed to push. Why did it fail to push?
Because we didn't specify where it was pushing to?
No, do a git status. We are, our branches have diverged. So if you think about this, locally you made one commit, but on GitHub, there are two commits that you don't have. There's the pull requests that I made, that commit, and then also the merge. So what's happening is you're trying to push up, but there are commits on GitHub that you do not have locally, right? So what you need to do is first pull down the changes before you can push up this commit that you made. So do a git pool first. And you'll notice, so we were lucky this time, it did auto merging of index.html. So Git was actually able to figure out that, hey, Tony edited line 8 and CJ edited line 12, and it just basically merged those changes in together. Like no extra steps had to be taken. But it's also possible that we would have modified the same line of code and then Git wouldn't know what to do. You would get what's called a merge conflict. And you'd basically have to say, okay, these two things have changed. Which one do you want? Or like somebody has edited the same line of code. Which one should we keep when we're doing the merge? So I think we'll try to demonstrate that. But now you should be able to push.
All right.
Nosebleed level 4?
God. Oh, yeah. Let me sign in.
Oh, I see. Sean is mentioning they got logged in on the browser version, but just trying it on the desktop app. They're synced. So as long as you log into the same account that you have in the browser as in the desktop, you should automatically see all of the channels that you've been added to before for Discord. Cool. And notice it had to do another merge. Whenever it did the automatic merge, it actually added that commit for you. Cool. Let's do some more coding though. I guess, is it my turn, or do you want to keep coding?
Guess we'll just keep handing it off.
Okay, it's going to be pretty cumbersome though if we keep going back and forth. But I think that's a good thing. So let me get back on master. And now, because Tony accepted that pull request here, I need those commits locally, so I can do git pull origin Tony. Git pull Tony master. Awesome. And now if I do git push origin master, now my fork will be up to date with his master branch on the main repo. And locally, so Tony added the font. Let's actually set that font in the UI. So I can go to Google Fonts and figure out what was the name of it.
Well, you could just see it in the code, wouldn't you?
Tony, you're too smart for me. Okay, press start 2p. But actually, I am going to go to Google Fonts just to see, because they'll show us how to add it to our CSS. Pixel. Did you search for game? Did you search for pixel? How did you find it?
I put in 8.
Oh, 8-bit. Okay.
But it's like I literally put in the number 8 and it started coming up.
So when you select it, it shows you how to actually add it to your CSS. In this case, font family is press start 2p, and then cursive. I think I actually might make it monospace if it doesn't exist. But now we can say our body font will be press start, and then I'm going to do monospace as the fallback. Cool. So we have the font. Let's actually add like the thing to the page. So let's create like a section. This is going to be the bottom status bar area.
Can you share your screen?
Oh, so sorry, Tony. Yeah, you got to remind me.
Yeah, we're just going back and forth with this.
Back and forth. Okay, so I added it in the CSS here and made the fallback monospace. And now I'm adding a section to the body. Let's give this a class of like status bar. And for now, let's just put a p tag in and say like status. I don't know, rainbow? Sure. But in the CSS, let's now give a class for status bar. Let's say position is fixed and bottom should be 0. And I think that should put it at the bottom of the window. Let's see. We'll see. And let's say width is 100%. And then height will be something like 60 view height. Well, not that big, probably like 30 view height. And let's give it a background right now of just like red so we can see if it actually shows up. Okay. Localhost 3000. Yeah, look at that. So the status bar is there. It's way too big. 10 view height?
I think if we're going to do this like proper Doom style, we need to make sure we do like all caps and give it like a little drop shadow.
Okay, definitely. I think maybe I want to do a fixed height.
Like 2M?
Well, more of like just in pixels, just so that like no matter what, like the size of our images are always going to be the same. Yeah, I think let's do like 175. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, we want the, what is it?
Text transform?
Text transform. Thank you, Tony.
Uppercase.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly how drop shadow worked.
But let's say we do want the font size to be like much bigger. Nice. Yeah. And let's give it like is
It's text shadow.
not text shadow, border. Is it text shadow?
Yeah, on text. Yeah, there's
Oh,
a text.
okay, there is a shadow on the text. How does this work?
I don't remember. It was like 4 variables. So use like a generator or something.
Okay, so let's do like a text shadow generator.
Yeah, just like real generic, like it's to the bottom right.
Okay, so the degree is going to be
Like real sharp. This is supposed to be like 8-bit. There's no blurring in 8-bit.
okay. So 0 blur. Where does it?
Just
Right
like
there?
just a
Right there?
couple pixels off, maybe a little bit more. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Like there?
Try 5. Let's do 4. This is turning into Noodle Quest. That's perfect.
Okay, 4. In the where's the angle in degrees coming from? It's not even there. Oh well.
It's on there.
In here?
Yeah, it's on there.
I don't see it.
It's
But Oliver is mentioning you have the x offset, the y offset, and then the blur. Okay.
I think that might actually be like the default angle, so it's not going to do anything for 0 pixels.
Okay. And the color we want actually is
That's opacity, isn't it?
yeah. We want just black text. Oh, no, sorry, a black border or black box shadow, text
Yeah.
shadow. Sorry. Awesome. Let's also give this thing. I don't know. So that's like the basic style there. I think I'll commit this, and then we can do the layout on your computer.
Okay, I will run to the restroom.
Okay, go for it. So I am going to check out a branch locally. So let's check out a branch. Saying added initial status bar. Oh, weird. This is not a commit. This is the name of the branch. Adding status bar. And then now locally, I have 2 untracked files because I made changes to both the HTML and the CSS. So I will add everything and then commit everything. Added status bar. And then I'll push that up to my fork. So git push origin adding status bar. So I've pushed up to my fork, and now I need to make a pull request. So on mine, my master branch is even, but I now have this new branch I created, so now I'm going to compare and make the pull request. So I'm making a request against Tony's master to ask him to merge in these changes that I made. Okay. And now when Tony gets back, he can accept it. I think I am going to take a quick break too. Let me leave Tony a message. BRB. All right. 2-minute break, maybe 3 minutes, but we'll be right back.
Hello?
Hey Tony, I'm gonna take a break too.
Okay.
But I'll be back. I'm gonna hide the screen here, but I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hello again. Are you there, Tony? Tony?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. Okay. I have made a pull request with the status bar. So let's switch to your screen. You can accept. And I think from here on out, we're just going to do the changes on your computer because we have been streaming for like close to 3 hours now. And I think we can just get it done if we do most of the stuff on your computer. So
Okay.
stopping the share, please share your screen now.
Okay. And we are sharing on this desktop.
Awesome. So go to pull requests. You'll need to accept it. Merge it in. Oh yeah, of course. You want to make sure and see what I did. We can see. Yeah.
I'll allow it.
My break timer's popping up if you want to take a quick stretch, Tony.
I'm good. So now I'm going to do a git pull.
Yes. Great job, Tony. You're learning.
All right.
Because you want to take those changes that were on your master and pull them down. Awesome.
Yep.
And I think you still have Light Server running. So if you go to the browser, you can see those changes should have refreshed. There. Awesome.
Yeah.
And now we can start working on layout. So let's go to our reference image. Do you have like a color picker? Actually, let me see if I have digital color meter. Oh, but can I? Here, let me do this. Out of full screen. Digital color meter. I guess we'll just use like solid colors.
Yeah, we could just use like just use like gray.
Okay. Well, I have a hex code. Let me read it out to you. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah. Should I
Let's make this the background color of the status bar. Yeah. So instead of red, we want to do hash 383 B2E. E is the last thing.
Wait, 383 B2BE?
No, B2E. No B. No.
Oh,
T.
okay. I was like, ooh.
Let's see what that looks like. Okay. So like that's that, and then we'll have the middle section that will be more of like a gray color. So let me get a color for that. Go back to the reference image. So do we want like a darker gray or a lighter gray?
For the actual like
For
this
that
part
area?
right here.
Yeah, point to an area which we should pick.
Like try to pick one of those lighter colors.
Move your mouse.
You don't see it?
No, I can, but move your mouse so I can select it.
Oh.
Okay, so we have that gray and that gray. Oh no, I gotta do it again. That's a good gray. Okay, Tony, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say in the HTML, we're gonna want probably a section inside of the section to be like the where there's that will have this gray background. So let's get rid of that p tag. And then we'll define another section, and let's give this a class of what do you think we should call this? This is going to be the gray area.
Like where the character slot is.
And like the scores and things like that.
Oh.
We can call it character slot or
Yeah.
Let's do dash casing. Okay, and so now in your CSS, let's give this thing a background color. So below there, we need the character slot class. And the background color is 797. Cool. And we can give, let's give the status bar a display of flex. So that way we're going to put this gray like directly in the center of it. So display flex, justify content center. And then we'll give this character slot a width of like let's say like 70%. Let's see what happens. Okay, decent. How do you think? What do you think of that, Tony?
It's looking good.
Okay, so now we kind of want to put our faces in there somewhere, right? Or like, let's look at the reference image again. So zoom back out. We've got, I mean, really, we just want like.
Well, I think we could almost have like the way it's like kind of sectioned off. It's like, you know, the whole thing is like this one character's status. Like, so it's like health, right? Like it's whatever.
But should we do like Tony, like the
It could be like a picture of me right next to the health, and it's like every time I, you know, like hit something, it's like the health percentage goes down.
Okay.
And then it
so yeah, so percentage health starts off for you at 100%, and it'll say like health below it, and then your image will be like right there, and then maybe my image right here. Basically, let's say we just both have health, right?
okay.
Like that. So like,
Yeah.
your health is on the left, my health is on the right.
How about in the center? It'll say Newb quest.
Okay, so like we separate the two.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. We'll have a section on the left, which will be like Tony's section. So let's go into the HTML. So inside of the character slot,
Okay.
well, in the element itself, do a new line. And we need two sections. Yeah, so we're going to have the one section will be, give it a class. Yeah, so section. This section will be a class of like Tony. And then the other section will be a class of CJ, and then in the middle we can put a section that is like has like a class of title. Cool. And inside of this section, let's just throw like an H1 that says new quest. So do a new line. Oh yeah, you can do that too. Awesome. Let's see what it looks like. Whoa. So right now they're like all on top of each other. We actually want them to be side by side. So let's flexbox it. So the character slot should have a display of flex. And can you full screen your code? Thank you very much. So the character slot should have a display of flex. And that should put everything side by side. And yeah, just see what happens. I guess because the other two sections don't have anything in them yet, we're not seeing anything. I guess let's go ahead and add like the inside of it. We'll have the health, right? So go back to the code. Can you split it left and right? So do like Windows key right. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Great job, Tony. Wait, what happened? Okay. Now hide the Explorer on the left. Wait, hide the console. Hide the File Explorer inside of VS Code. Okay. So go back to the HTML, and inside of the Tony section, let's add some more elements. So do a new line. Basically, we want to have the health, right? So let's create another section and give it a class of health. Do lowercase health. Cool. And inside of the health section, just put like 100. And well, actually, so inside the health section, let's create a couple of elements. So backspace that, and then do a new line, and let's create a p tag that has the 100 inside of it. And then below that, create another p tag that has just says like health. and give this a class of like health label or something like that.
Should the other p tag get a thing as well?
I think so. So we can call that like health amount.
Or health value.
Yeah. And let's just copy that whole section and put it inside of CJ as well. Cool. So now we just need to play with the font sizes. So let's style health label. And let's bring the font size down. So like font size is like 0.5 em maybe.
The whole health label or just the health?
Well, that's because that's going to set the, health label will just set the word health to be smaller, right? That's what we want.
Yeah. Oh, it looks so, like, when you look at a word for it long enough, it just looks weird.
Let's do like font size 0.5 em maybe. 0.5 em. Should we go smaller than that?
I think that looks okay.
Okay, and then let's say health health value. Do we want to make that red, or what do we want to do with that?
Yeah, we could make it red.
Okay. Can you pull up the reference image again? Yeah, let me grab that red color. Let's do like this. Oh no, I keep pressing the wrong button. That one. Okay. C404404 is so for health value.
Okay. So
the color will be C404404. What happened? Click back in the editor. Do I have to? C40404. There's that. Awesome. So do we want these to be like vertically centered?
Yeah, like kind of centered within their own little div.
Right. And I guess actually, so go back to the preview. Yep. If we comment out the height of the status bar, so line 25 in the CSS, if we comment that out and then save the file, it should just take up. Yeah, so I think we could do that, and then based on the size, like we can add some padding so that it makes it a little bit more. So yeah, so let's remove the height there, and then let's give character slot some padding. So just remove line 25. And let's add some padding, say like 1 em maybe? Half of an em maybe? Cool, I like it. That's looking decent, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, looks good.
Let's go ahead and commit. So first remove line 38, you have an extra new line. Cool. And actually, one thing we haven't showed yet is like making a pull request against yourself. So let's do that. So locally, so go back, open your terminal again. You can do, do Control Shift P and search for toggle integrated editor. Toggle integrated terminal. Oh, and I just realized I'm completely covering up the preview here. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so let's check the status.
just going to do -a, right?
Yeah, so that will add everything. Yep. And then we will commit it. Oh wait, no, don't commit. No, let's check out a branch. So do git checkout -b.
Git checkout -b.
And then, oh no, we have to give it the name of the branch. So press up to get back to that, and then do a space, and let's call this branch styling status bar. Oh, you can't have any spaces in it. You can do dashes if you want.
Oh God.
There's an extra G. Do arrow to the right? Yeah, okay.
Git checkout -b styling
Dash status dash bar. Okay, and now if you do a git status, they're ready to be tracked, but you haven't committed them on this branch yet. So go ahead and do an add. Well, you already did an add, sorry. Do a commit. You're right. Yep. Styling status bar is what I would call it. Or added styling? Cool. Added styling to status bar? I don't know. But now you have commits on that branch. So do a git status really quick. And you're currently on branch styling status bar. So let's push up the changes you made to the styling status bar branch. So git push origin styling status bar. Styling dash status dash bar. And you have to log in. I'm gonna hide your screen real quick.
All right.
Cool. So go to GitHub really quick, and you'll notice that on GitHub, we'll go to the main page. You have this branch that's been created, styling status bar. And so the thing is, and it's a really good habit to get in of like working on branches and like not directly committing to the master branch. Because now if other people are contributing to this repo, they could go in and look at that branch and decide whether or not they want the changes. So here you can actually click compare and pull request over on the right for styling status bar. And you're basically going to be making a pull request against yourself, and then click create pull request. And now you actually have this pending pull request, and you can click that to see what changes you made. Cool. And if you want to, you can merge it. So this would really be the flow you would use if you didn't want to always work on master branch, which is a good habit to get in, where basically all of your changes are always happening on branches, and then when you're ready, you merge them into the master branch. Yep, so if you click back over, now it has those changes. And try visiting noobquest.life. Let's see what version of it is hosted right now. Okay, that's before we added the styling, I think. Or no, maybe we haven't tested this on a larger screen. I think this is the latest version, yeah. Okay, locally, you're definitely gonna wanna do you're gonna wanna check out the master branch. So go back to VS Code and do a git checkout master. So that will switch you back to the master branch. And then all of our changes will go away. But now you can pull from your origin because you merged in that pull request. So git pull, just git pull should do it. And now you're on the master branch and you have all of the latest changes. Awesome. I think it's time for me to code. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm gonna code as fast as possible. I mean, I don't know. We've been streaming for like 3 hours. Nobody wants to watch a 3-hour intro to Git video, but the first like hour was a good intro. Now we're just coding. That's not it. Here we are. And if I look at my, I need to pull down the changes. So right now I'm on a branch. I want to get back on master. So git checkout master. And I want to do Git Pool Tony master to pull all of the changes from Tony's master branch into my local branch. And you'll notice all of the changes popped up, which is awesome. And for now, so I don't forget, I'm going to go ahead and check out a branch called, I guess just like styling status bar. I'm going to do some more styling, and then Tony will add the images. Okay, so I'm on a branch. And if I go into the code, one thing right now is the status bar has a width of 100%, but character slot does not have a width. Well, it has a width of 70%. Let's look at the layout. So we have character slot, and that has Tony, title, and then the health inside of it. I guess technically we want character slot to be 70% of the status bar. Okay, but I see character slot is display flex. What we want is justify content space between or space around, and that's going to push things out. It should, right? So that pushes the health to the side and the title in the center. And now we can have like Tony's image there and my image here. That's what we want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's actually give some border around the different areas, I think.
Yeah, like each thing.
Yeah, so like health is this section here. So let's do health has an outline.
Is there a way to do like CSS beveling? Like,
I think so, yeah.
I want to do that because that's like the way they have it in the original thing. It's like real cheesy beveling. CSS bevel border. Yeah, I think it's like generic border.
So I made an outline around health. I guess technically I want an outline around Tony.
I want to do that because that's like the way they have it in the original thing. It's like real cheesy beveling.
Let's look up, did you look up like CSS bevel? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Bevel and embossed effect.
Yes.
Cool, and just real quick, Ed is mentioning do align items center, I think on the, should that be on the character? It'll be on the character spot. So that'll give us a vertical centering. Like that, awesome. Quick shreds. Yeah, so Oliver's mentioning it is a built-in feature of CSS because everyone wanted like beveled things back in the day. But what I'm thinking is like a very like blocky square, or do you think?
Yeah, like because it's like something you could do in Photoshop. But I mean, like I'm assuming they had some sort of similar tool to do this on like MS-DOS computers back in the day, because it's on like everything.
Bevel box or box shadow. Oh, look at this, Tony.
Yeah, like it looks perfect. Like it's so cheesy and kind of terrible, but like gradients, I love it.
Okay, so we can do it with box shadow and yeah. So which part of this is going to be beveled? So like, are we going to have like each of the areas is like one beveled box?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Like because that like the reference image, like that's how they do it. It's like each little section is its own, which is redundant and kind of ridiculous, but whatever.
Okay, so we have box shadow, but we also need. I guess I'll copy all of this. And really, so right now, character slot is this intersection. I guess I'd want character slot to have a height, I believe, of 100%, because it should take up the full height of the parent. And then if we say something like health is like a bevel box, well, let's do this. Let's give it its own class called bevel box that has a background and a border, and we can get rid of these WebKit ones. And then if we give bevel box, put that on health, let's see what we get. Okay, awesome. So we get that, but we want it to take up
The whole slot.
Yeah, the full height and width. So I believe if we tell health to be 100% width and height. Health? Is that how you spell health? So we want it to take up. Let's play with this because the main thing is like right now it's in a flex box. So we have that, which is taking up the whole area. Oh, and right now character slot has padding. That's not going to be good because that's going to room it. So let's actually get rid of the padding on the character slot.
Space. Okay.
Yeah, so we have that. And then, oh, I see. So Tony technically needs to have a height of 100%. And so,
Try the bevel box, giving it a height of 100%.
well, it should. Let's play around with this though. So height is 100%. That does nothing. What if we do width of 100%? Okay, so that takes up its width there.
Well, try height auto.
No. Let's look at what's happening though. So, or if we select that area, it could be because we have justify content align. Sorry. Align items center. Can we do align items something like? What are my options? Taking up the full amount. What's the property I need? I'll look up the CSS tricks flexbox. Align items stretch. Well, that's easy. Align items stretch. And then we can do some like vertical centering inside of it. Okay. So there's the character slot. Yeah, Oliver had it. Align items stretch. And I guess it could be that the status bar does need to have a set height because right now we tried to make it automatic based on the stuff inside of it. But let's say height again is 20 view height. Nice. Yes. That's awesome. So now if we give Tony a little bit of padding, so let's say like padding 1em, but then we make, well, we don't want Tony to have the padding. We want the health area to have the padding because that's the one we set as the bevel box. Nice. And that's way too much. So like that. And then now health needs to be a flex box with justify content, no, align items center. And that should, but now actually, so flex direction
Column.
should be column, and then justify content center, I believe. Yes. We could also do space around. What do you think, Tim?
I kind of liked it before when they were closer together.
Like that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Oliver's mentioning if I can take 20 view height and make it to 100%. And that means take up. Well, no, because right now the parent has actual height. Cool. But now that we have that, we can just add bevel box on the things that we need. So if we'll put bevel box on that.
And then on Newb Quest as well.
And then we'll put bevel box on there.
Oh,
Nice.
Look at those tacky boxes.
That's awesome.
And see, and then our pictures go right there.
That's so good.
In that little space.
Yeah, let's style the title really quick though. So let's say, is it character slot title? Yeah, character slot title. Title. Display, flex, justify content, center. Align items, center. Because right now, by default, it's row. And we could give it a little bit of padding.
Like 0.1 em or something, yeah.
A little bit.
Ooh, baby padding. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. And now we'll add the images. So I'll push back up so that you can add the images.
I think you have them too. We could just, if you want to pull them from your...
You're right. We have been streaming for almost 3.5 hours.
Let's just get through this.
Yeah, at this point, it's just like we need to code, and I'm at like 50% health. Tony's at what, 50? I don't know.
I'm at like 20.
Okay, so yeah, this is looking really great though. Let's give it a font, a body font size to be in terms of the view height. And so now things should.
Well, once we get the picture in there, I think like the
things will start to adjust.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna hide my screen for just a second while I download all the images and put them in the folder. And actually, just real quick, let me go ahead and commit and push up, and Tony can merge them in. So I'm on this branch. Oh, and let's talk about that really quick. So I just did a shortcut command. And I have it in here to talk about setting up CLI aliases. Basically, in Linux terminal, it's possible to set an alias. So basically, I have an alias called GSS that's set to Git Status. And what I'm now allowed to do is anytime I type GSS, it actually runs the command Git Status. I'll show you real quick. I have a repo called dot files. And you can see all of my aliases inside of my bash profile. So I have aliases for Git Add, Git Commit, Git Push, Git Status. And you can put these in your bash profile or your zshrc or whatever shell you use. You can put those in your file. And those aliases will exist for you all the time. So I'll share out my bash file, my bash profile, but depending on what you use, it'll be a little bit different. So that said, I have the command GSS, which is Git Status. I have GAA, which is Git Add All. Now if I do Git Status, they've been added. And then now I can do GCM, which is Git Commit, added bevel box. And then I'm going to git push origin styling status bar. And then Tony, please accept and let me know when you've accepted. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to check out the master branch here.
Refreshing. Should see a pull request, right?
Oh, I didn't create the pull request. I'm telling you, I'm getting foggy. So on my fork, I now have 4 commits behind. What? I thought I pushed up. Oh well. I now have the or I thought git push origin styling status bar. What are my origins? My origin is that. I should now have a branch called styling status bar. There we go. And now here I can create a new pull request against, and I'm going to try to merge it in with master. So here I selected Tony's repo master. I want to merge in my styling status bar. branch, create the pull request.
Okay. And I'm going to go in and merge pull requests.
There we go. He's got my code. And so now locally on master, I can do git pull Tony master. It pulls that in. And if I also do git push origin master, should get all of the changes up on my fork as well. So if we go to w3cj/new quest life, I'm even with master. Great, 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 great. And while I'm thinking about it, let me get rid of those branches. Branch, delete, testing Tony's pull request, styling status bar. And I'm deleting these because they've already been merged in, so they're of no use to me anymore. Great, I just have the master branch. Okay. I need the images, and then we'll add them, and we'll pretty much be done. I'm going to hide my screen just real quick. Tony, I will not be able to hear you. I'm going to make a directory called images, go into there, open it up. Need to download the images that Tony sent me. There are quite a few images. It's going to take a second. Number 5, number 6, number 7, and there are only 7. So I think I got them all. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Awesome. Cool. All right, we're back, Tony. So yes,
Awesome.
I downloaded them. I put them in a folder called images. That's me. And there's Tony as he progressively gets. That's awesome. That's so good. Okay, so what we now need to do is next to the health box, we need to put the image. What class should we give this? Image, picture, status.
Yeah.
For status picture.
Status picture. I like that. And this will have an image in it. Right now, what would you say your nosebleed status is?
Currently, probably about 6.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're close. Just because it's
Nosebleed status 6. Cool. And then I'll put my status picture in there.
and yours is set with like I guess if we did yours like levels of 7, like your opacity would be real low.
Cool. Let's just see what this gives us so far. Oh, nosebleed status. I could hear it for a second. Cool. I need to actually style the those areas. So we need in here we're gonna do status picture should have a width and a height of 100%. Well, Tony, wait, did changing the height of Tony to 100% fix anything? No, that didn't. Yeah, so that didn't do anything. But status picture. Well, the image inside of the status picture will have width of 100% and height of 100%. So I think right now, is the padding covering it up? Let's see. So right now, there's the health box. There's the status picture. Oh, because right now, Tony, I think, is it it's a flex box? Or is it?
Yeah, I think they're all flex boxes.
Well, I don't know if we styled CJ and Tony as a flex box yet. Because right now what's happening is it's below the screen. And we actually need Tony to be a flex box so that it goes to the right. Okay, so let's say Tony and CJ both have a display of flex. So that should make them go direction row. Cool. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. But on mine, we want it to be flipped. So on CJ, we can say flex direction, I believe is row reverse, and that should flip it.
Yeah, so row reverse and column reverse are just basically like backwards. Yes.
Yeah, and technically, we could just flip it in the HTML, but row reverse is one way to do it. And then let's change your health. Like we'll just do that in this here. So right now,
just hard code it.
Yeah, what's the value?
Just put
20%.
like 20%.
Okay, and I'll put mine as like 40%. Yes. That is so cool. Okay, it probably doesn't work like too well. It's not like yeah. So like we definitely want it to maintain a fixed like aspect ratio.
I kind of want to do on the reference image. There's like a repeating like sloppy looking like brick texture.
We could do that.
Yeah, like that'd be like a stretch thing for sure. But like, I'd like.
Cool.
I'm just talking about like on the edges there.
Like which part?
Like on the far right and far left, like those like kind of extra spaces.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, and just real quick, I need to change my opacity. So right now, CJ should have an opacity of like
0.4.
0.4, 40%. But not CJ. CJ image.
Oh, you gotta.
Oh, but now up. So CJ needs to be flex direction row reverse, and
CJ image.
Yeah, has a opacity of 4. There we go.
Yes.
Very good. This is awesome. Okay, and just to show it real quick, what it'll look like. Oh wait, I can't mute it.
0.4.
Ugh. So what the reason?
Mute the tab.
Can I mute the tab? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you mute the tab.
Well, actually, what I want to do though, because right now it's overlaid, and so like you can't even control the stream itself. So if instead we did like status bar has a height of 20 view height, and then the iframe has a max height of 80 view height, they should be right on top of each other. Yeah. Because right now.
Perfect.
Cool. That's great. We can like go back.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good.
This is the official new way to watch the stream.
Cool. And and one thing we were thinking about is right now, in order to like, if I push this up, it should be live on newquest.life. And that way, if we want to change our health during the stream, we have to actually commit to the repo. But in the future, we could like build a backend and make it so that like it uses sockets to sync in real time.
I like that a lot, though. That's really funny.
It's great. Yeah, I think the one thing that does need to be fixed is the images get squashed.
Yeah, they should have like a fixed height or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I was just thinking about this, but Oliver mentioned now you just need it to sync up with the video. So if we do build a backend, we could make it so that whenever you set, and like if I set my status or he sets his status, it makes a log of it. And then if you're replaying the video, we could detect the time in the video whenever I changed or we changed our health and then like update
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome.
it. So when you're rewatching it, you can see
Kind of like the way, like if you rewatch like any of the old streams, like the chat updates in real time or in real time with the video.
Exactly. Should we put our names below our pictures?
I was thinking, like, yeah, like just kind
Let's do
of
that. Yeah.
like just like an extra like little thing.
Yeah, it's just like a paragraph that says Tony. And then CJ. Right now they're below it, so let's make status picture should have a height of 100%. Oh, it does.
Or would it be a high? Would we give it less of a percent if we're putting something below it?
We want it to be dynamic. Oh, and then no, it doesn't. The image has a height of 100%, but we want that itself to have a height of 100%.
Hmm.
That should make it scroll. Yeah, so now they're just like below the screen. We can't see them. Or can we? Refresh. Oh, yeah, so now they show up. We don't want that. If we give the image a height of like 80% and like width of auto. Oh, no. No width at all. What have I done? Really, it should be display flex. Why don't I have it as display flex? Status picture, display flex, height 100% because it'll take up the height of the parent, and flex direction is column. So now they'll appear on top of each other. And let's see. Now the image can't be 100%. I'm not thinking straight. Let's get rid of the names for now, just because I can't think of how to position them. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, the names are fine. I think this is a huge like. I'm enjoying that like things that we've talked about in the stream are now real things,
Yeah, definitely.
and I also enjoy that like pretty much everything is getting its own domain. Like,
what did I do? Like I feel like that black box at the bottom was not there before. Let's also do like overflow is hidden on the body, so you can't scroll. There we go.
I like that. It reads as what it is. Like it's like anybody who played those games would know what it is. It's funny.
Yeah. Okay. I always do this. Oliver's giving me a suggestion though. The image should have flex 1 with auto. Let's try it. So if we give if we give the parent status picture a display of flex, and then the image has flex 1 with auto. Let's see what that does for us.
Oh God.
Horrible. But the status picture width of 100% and a height of 100%.
Or height auto.
Height 100% width. I don't like automatic width wouldn't exactly work there though.
Let's try height auto.
Where?
Right there.
I just did that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. You're at like 10%. I'm at like 20%. I don't know.
I'm draining.
We need to end this. We need to end this now. Okay. Awesome. Let me go ahead and commit this so that it shows up on the interwebs. I'm not even going to do a branch. If you've watched 3 hours and 40 minutes into this video to learn about Git, one thing we didn't talk about was a git ignore file. So right now you'll notice there's this like ds store file. These get created like on the Mac. So I can create a git ignore, and inside of that file I can tell Git things that it shouldn't add to the repo. And specifically on a Mac, like it creates these ds store files, so I'm going to put that in there. Now if I do a git status, that thing doesn't even show up. So let's add everything. Let's commit.
Did a bunch of stuff. See, this is exactly yes.
Cool.
10%.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Added images, because those are due. Added images.
Bevels.
Cool. So git push origin master, and then I can make a pull request from my remote.
Oh, so and now the images are actually on there too.
Yeah. So those are in the GitHub repo. So I can show on my remote. I'm on the master branch. I'm one ahead, but I have all the images in there. So I'm gonna make a pull request against Tony's master branch. So Tony master. Here's my pull request. Go. Now you can accept. So if we go to Tony's, he should have a pull request there.
Yep.
Did you accept?
Yep.
Already? Wow. Okay. And then let's see. Okay, so the website hasn't updated yet. Ooh, but it's already HTTPS. That's awesome. But in a few minutes, the site will update and the images will be there. Awesome. This was great, Tony. I'm really glad we did this.
Me too.
This is great. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. This has been Git and GitHub. I will create just a separate GitHub repo on the Coding Garden GitHub to just have basically this checklist there. So you can kind of like go back and use it as a study guide as to all the possible things of doing with Git. There's more. We did not talk about merge conflicts today. Like we mentioned them, but we did not show we did not show them resolving. Robin just said in the chat, "You guys are still live, but look what we did, Robin. We have a website, create a, and we have our percentages there. We're exhausted. I'm gonna go ahead and lower my health. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm at like." CJ's at 20% health, which means I need to change my opacity. That's the other thing. In the future, we could use some JavaScript where like we set it in one place and it automatically chooses the opacity and sets the percentage.
We could even do another thing too, like where it's like we could do a thing where like if one of us is drinking coffee or tea or something, you get like a temporary boost.
Oh, a boost in health.
Yeah, so you go back up and then you get like maybe like a yellow background where it's like you're refreshed.
I'm gonna put you at 0% health.
Just dead.
Awesome. Let's commit this.
What somebody was asking about a bunch of invisible pixels. They have transparent backgrounds, I think, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, but if we do look at the images, like their resolution, I guess we can't see what the width and the height.
I know what the width and the height are.
What are they, Tony?
They're 500 by 500 pixels.
But how much extra space is there around the image itself?
Well, I don't know. In that file, I don't know exactly what it's doing. Like, I think it's like sort of reading the transparency.
Okay, so but this is what I was talking about. Like, are there 100 pixels above or 100 pixels to the right?
Oh, I don't know. I know. Like
this is showing me, so basically this much extra space. But if you'll notice, there's like no extra space or barely any extra space on the side. Yeah.
It's real tight on the top and bottom. But
it'll push out the width weirdly. Let's see if I go full. That's okay. Go like down there. I don't know. We are absolutely open to pull requests. Use your newfound skills of making pull requests. And
Could do some other sort of thing with these faces too.
Yeah, and so if anybody is joining like right here at the end, yeah, Tony made this pixel art this morning, and so for me, we just as I get less and less health, I just get brain fog, so I become cloudier and cloudier. So we're just setting opacity, but for Tony, he just like gradually gets like bloodier and bloodier. Awesome. So let me add everything.
I actually don't see the. If I'm on noobquest.life, I don't see the actual.
Well, it's cached, so it takes a little bit before they detect that the master branch has changed.
Mm.
So you'll have to wait a bit before it's updated on the website.
Okay.
Okay, so I just push there, and wait, where'd my GitHub tab go? Now I don't have GitHub open anymore. Slowly digressing. Robin says, "Nice job, Tony."
Oh, thanks.
Okay, new pull request, because I updated the health. Create that pull request. Go. Please merge, Tony.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I mean, I literally just created it. Okay.
And I'm merging.
That goes away.
Merged.
Okay, the latest health isn't up, but the super interesting. On HTTP it's updated, but not on HTTPS. There we go.
We should make these as emojis within the stream too,
Oh,
or
that'd be great.
the Discord.
In the Discord, yeah. I can't have custom emojis.
No, yeah,
Cool.
that's what I was saying. The
Cool,
Discord.
cool.
Yeah, we have a couple. I think we showed them before. The CJ emojis. There's like a CJ smiling and a CJ grinning.
Yeah. Okay. That was fun, Tony. That was super fun. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. This has been an intro to Git and GitHub, and also the creation of noobquest.life. Anything else to add or talk about before we go, Tony?
I don't know. I need to.
Need to sleep? Eat some
Yeah.
food? Me too. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. The next stream, don't know when it'll be. Most likely Code Katas on Wednesday, but watch the channel for any upcoming notifications. Shout out to Sean, who did the $5 donation earlier. Really appreciate that. And and Sean is asking best JavaScript books to invest in. Last thing I'll mention, I will say like maybe really don't have to invest in, but Eloquent JavaScript is really good.
There's a web page somewhere that has like a bunch of those kind of books like for free.
But like Eloquent JavaScript itself is free online.
Yeah.
And it actually has in the different chapters inline editors, so you can actually edit and modify the code. This is a really good one, but you can buy a hard copy version if you want to. I think you mentioned You Don't Know JS earlier. That one is also free on GitHub, but you can buy the hard copy version if you want to. But I really like this because it for one, it does have like an intro to programming, but it also describes like JavaScript for what it is and like the features in the language, and like it's not very opinionated. Well, it's not opinionated in the fact that it just talks about everything and doesn't really say like this is bad or this is good. It just says like what it is and why it exists and how it works. So that's what I really like about this one. Do you have any recommended books, Tony?
I can't think of any right now. I'll have
Okay.
to put some links.
Yeah, we might actually get just a recommended resources going, like on the Coding Garden website or something like that. But both of these are free, and you can start reading them now, and you can also buy like hard copy versions if you want to support the author. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us, Tony. Sorry to bring you down to 0 health. Yeah, look at
It's all good.
health. Yeah, okay. Like I said, Code Katas on Wednesday, most likely. Other than that, watch the channel for any updates. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and we'll see you next time.